All right, welcome everyone. You're tuning into this video. We are doing a script reading. We're finishing off the OG Star Wars trilogy with Return of the Jedi. Now, I am your host, Curtis. I'll be playing the roles of Darth Vader, R2-D2s, Chewbacca, and other roles and sound effects, whatnot. We got Logan as Luke Skywalker. We got Casey as our action description. We got Kobe as Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi. We got Hunter coming back as Han Solo. We have the Emperor, Erik, and he's also going to be our Admiral Ackbar. You're going to tell us is a trap or not? Are you, Erik? You can tell us. Okay, you're going to tell us it's a trap. George is going to be C-3PO. Ian is our Jabba the Hutt. Anne is Lando Calrissian and Wedge Antilles. We got Clinton coming back as Yoda, and Molly as Leia Organa. So, Casey, whenever you're ready, you can start us off.
Alrighty, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Written by Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas, from a story by George Lucas. Space. The boundless heavens serve as a backdrop for the main title, followed by a roll-up which crawls into infinity. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Luke Skywalker... Luke Skywalker has returned to his home planet of Tatooine in an attempt to rescue his friend Han Solo from the clutches of the evil gangster Jabba the Hutt. Little does Luke know that the Galactic Empire has secretly begun construction on a new armored space station even more powerful than the first dreaded Death Star. When completed, this ultimate weapon will spell certain doom for the small band of rebels struggling to restore freedom to the galaxy. Pan down to reveal a monstrous half-completed Death Star, its massive superstructure curling away from the completed section like the arms of a giant octopus. Beyond, in benevolent contrast, floats the small green moon of Endor. An Imperial Star Destroyer moves overhead toward the massive armored space station, followed by two zipping TIE fighters. A small Imperial shuttle rockets from the main bay of the ship and hustles towards the Death Star. Interior, Imperial shuttle cockpit. The shuttle captain makes contact with the Death Star.
Command station, this is ST-321, code clearance blue. We're starting our approach. Deactivate the security shield.
Death Star controller, filtered voiceover. The security deflector shield will be deactivated when we have confirmation of... Oh, is this a character? The security deflector shield will be deactivated when we have confirmation of your code transmission. Stand by. You are clear to proceed.
We're starting our approach.
Interior, Death Star control room. Operators move about amongst the control panels. A shield operator hits switches beside a large screen, on which is a display of the Death Star, the moon Endor, and a bright web delineating the invisible deflector shield. A control officer rushes over to the shield operator.
Inform the commander that Lord Vader's shuttle has arrived.
Yes, sir.
The control officer moves to a viewport and watches as the Imperial shuttle lands in the massive docking bay. A squad of Imperial stormtroopers move into formation before the craft. Interior, Death Star, main docking bay. The Death Star commander, Moff Jerjerrod, a tall, confident technocrat, strides through the assembled troops to the base of the shuttle ramp. The troops snap to attention. Many are uneasy about the new arrival, but the Death Star commander stands arrogantly tall. The exit hatch of the shuttle opens with a whoosh, revealing only darkness. Then, heavy footsteps and mechanical breathing. From this black void appears Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith. Vader looks over the assemblage as he walks down the ramp.
Lord Vader, this is an unexpected pleasure. We're honored by your presence.
You may dispense with the pleasantries, Commander. I'm here to put you back on schedule.
The commander turns ashen and begins to shake.
I assure you, Lord Vader, my men are working as fast as they can.
Perhaps I can find new ways to motivate them.
I tell you, this station will be operational as planned.
The Emperor does not share your optimistic appraisal of the situation.
But he asked the impossible. I need more men.
Then perhaps you could tell him when he arrives.
The Emperor's coming here?
That is correct, Commander, and he is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
We should double our efforts.
I hope so, Commander. For your sake, the Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
Exterior road to Jabba's palace, Tatooine. A lonely, windswept road meanders through the desolate Tatooine terrain. We hear a familiar beeping and a distinctive reply before catching sight of R2-D2 and C-3PO, making their way along the road toward the ominous palace of Jabba the Hutt.
Of course I'm worried, and you should be too. Lando Calrissian and poor Chewbacca never returned from this awful place.
R2 whistles timidly.
Don't be so sure. If I told you half the things I've heard about this Jabba the Hutt, you'd probably short-circuit.
The two droids fearfully approach the massive gate to the palace.
R2, are you sure this is the right place? I'd better knock, I suppose.
Exterior, Jabba's palace, gate. 3PO looks around for some kind of signaling device, then timidly knocks on the iron door.
There doesn't seem to be anyone here. Let's go back and tell Master Luke.
A small hatch in the middle of the door opens, and a spidery mechanical arm with a large electronic eyeball on the end pops out and inspects the droids.
Goodness gracious me!
3PO points to R2, then to himself.
R2 dihua bo C3POa e tuta admishka Jabba du Hutt.
The eye looks from one robot to the other. There is a laugh. Then the eye zips back into the door. The hatch slams shut. R2 beeps his concern.
I don't think they're going to let us in, R2. We'd better go.
R2 beeps his reluctance. As 3PO turns to leave, suddenly the massive door starts to rise with a horrific metallic screech. The robots turn back and face an endless black cavity. The droids look at one another, afraid to enter. R2 starts forward into the gloom. 3PO rushes after his stubby companion. The door lowers noisily behind them.
R2, wait. Oh dear, R2. R2, I really don't think we should rush into all this.
R2 continues down the corridor with 3PO following.
Oh, R2, wait for me.
Interior, Jabba's palace, hallway. The doors slam shut with a loud crash that echoes throughout the dark passageway. The frightened robots are met by two giant green Gamorrean guards who fall in behind them. 3PO glances quickly back at the two lumbering brutes, then back to R2. One guard grunts an order. R2 beeps nervously.
Just to deliver Master Luke's message and get us out of here. Oh my, oh no.
Walking toward them out of the darkness is Bib Fortuna, a human-like alien with long tentacles protruding from his skull.
Die wanga wanga.
Oh my. We bring a message to your master, Jabba the Hutt.
R2 lets out a series of quick beeps.
And a gift. Gift? What gift?
Bib shakes his head negatively.
Jabba no pada, mechada su goody.
Bib holds out his hand towards R2 and the tiny droid backs up a bit, laying out a protesting array of squeaks. 3PO turns to the strange-looking alien.
He says that our instructions are to give it only to Jabba himself.
Bib thinks about this for a moment.
I'm terribly sorry. I'm afraid he's ever so stubborn about these sort of things.
Bib gestures for the droids to follow.
Nucha.
The droids follow the tall, tentacled alien into the darkness, trailed by two guards.
R2, I have a bad feeling about this.
Interior, Jabba's throne room. The throne room is filled with the vilest, most grotesque creatures ever conceived in the universe. R2 and 3PO seem very small as they pause in the doorway to the dimly lit chamber. Light shafts partially illuminate the drunken courtiers as Bib Fortuna crosses the room to the platform upon which rests the leader of this nauseating crowd, Jabba the Hutt. The monarch of the galactic underworld is a repulsive blob of bloated fat with a maniacal grin. Chained to the horrible creature is the beautiful alien female dancer named Ula. At the foot of the dais sits an obnoxious bird-like creature, Salacious Crumb. Bib whispers something in the slobbering degenerate's ear. Jabba laughs horribly at the two terrified droids before him. 3PO bows politely.
Good morning.
Oh, Shuda.
The robots jump forward to stand before the repulsive, loose-skinned villain.
The message, R2, the message.
R2 whistles, and a beam of light projects from his domed head, creating a hologram of Luke on the floor. The image grows to over 10 feet tall, and the young Jedi towers over the space gangsters.
Greetings, Exalted. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight and friend of Captain Solo. I know that you are powerful, mighty Jabba, and that your anger with Solo must be equally powerful. I seek an audience with your friends to bargain for Solo's life. With your wisdom, I'm sure that we can work out some kind of arrangement which will be mutually beneficial and enable us to avoid any unpleasant confrontation. As a token of my goodwill, I'd like to give you a gift. These 2 droids.
3PO is startled by this announcement.
What did he say?
Both are hardworking and will serve you well.
This can't be. R2, you're playing the wrong message.
Luke's hologram disappears. Jabba laughs while Bib speaks to him in Huttese.
Pa, manja wanchi kopa.
We're doomed.
Picha wanchi kopa, tang nangji tu chanki troy. Solo, thochumake chalia.
Jabba laughs hideously and looks toward an alcove beside the throne. Hanging high, flat against the wall, exactly as we saw him last, is a carbonized Han Solo.
R2, look, Captain Solo, and he's still frozen in carbonite.
Interior dungeon corridor. One of Jabba's Gamorrean guards marches R2 and 3PO down a dank, shadowy passageway lined with holding cells. The cries of unspeakable creatures bounce off the cold stone walls. Occasionally, a repulsive arm or tentacle grabs through the bars of the hapless droids. R2 beeps pitifully.
What could possibly have come over Master Luke? It's something I did. He never expressed any unhappiness with my work. Hold it.
A large tentacle wraps around 3PO's neck. He manages to break free, and they move on to a door at the end of the corridor. Interior, boiler room. The door slides open, revealing a room filled with steam and noisy machinery. The guard motions them into the boiler room, where they are met by a tall, thin, human-like robot named EV-99. Behind the robot can be seen a torture rack pulling the legs off a screaming baby work droid. A second power droid is upside down. As smoking branding irons are pressed into his feet, the stubby robot lets out an anguished electronic scream. R2 and 3PO cringe as the guard grunts to EV.
Good. New acquisitions. You are a protocol droid, are you not?
I am C-3PO, human side.
Yes or no will do.
Oh, well, yes.
How many languages do you speak?
I am fluent in over 6 million forms of communication and can readily...
Splendid. We have been without an interpreter since our master got angry with our last protocol droid and disintegrated him.
Disintegrated?
God, this protocol droid might be useful. Fit him with a restraining bolt and take him back to His Excellency's main audience chamber.
The guard shoves 3PO towards the door.
R2, don't leave me, oh!
R2 lets out a plaintive cry as the door closes. Then he beeps angrily.
You're a feisty little one, but you'll soon learn some respect. I have need for you on the Master's sail barge, and I think you'll fit in nicely.
The poor work droid in the background lets out another tortured electronic scream. Interior, Jabba's throne room. The court of Jabba the Hutt is in the midst of a drunken, raucous party. Sloppy, smelly monsters cheer and make rude noises as Ula and a fat female dancer perform in front of Jabba's throne. Jabba leers at the dancers and with a lustful gleam in his eye, beckons Ula to come and sit with him. She stops dancing and backs away, shaking her head. Jabba gets angry and points to a spot next to him.
Da Isa.
The lovely alien shakes her head again and screams. Jabba is furious and pulls her toward him, tugging on the chain.
Bosca.
He pushes a button, and before the dancer can flee, a trap door in the floor springs open and swallows her up. As the door snaps shut, a muffled growl is followed by a hideous scream. Jabba and his monstrous friends laugh hysterically, and several revelers hurry over to watch her fate through a grate. 3PO cringes and glances wistfully at the carbonite form of Han Solo, but is immediately distracted by a gunshot off-screen. An unnatural quiet sweeps the boisterous gathering. On the far side of the room, the crush of debauchers moves aside to allow the approach of 2 guards, followed by Boushh, an oddly cloaked bounty hunter, leading his captive, Han Solo's co-pilot, Chewbacca the Wookiee. Bib takes his place next to his disgusting master and whispers into his ear, pointing at Chewbacca and the bounty hunter. Jabba listens intently. Then the bounty hunter bows before the gangster and speaks a greeting in a strange, electronically processed tongue. Ubies.
I have come for the bounty on this Wookiee.
Oh no, Chewbacca.
Kisthart, ninja mawanji Chewbacca. Oh, 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 oh.
Jabba lets out a loud, long, blood-curdling laugh and turns to 3PO, waving him closer. The reluctant droid obeys.
Oh, yes, I'm here, your worshipness. Yes.
Jabba continues speaking as 3PO nervously translates. Boushh listens, studying the dangerous creatures around the room. He notices Boba Fett standing near the door.
Oh, the illustrious Jabba bids you welcome, and will gladly pay you the reward of 25,000.
I want 50,000, no less.
Oh!
Jabba immediately flies into a rage, knocking the golden droid off the raised throne into a clattering heap on the floor. Boushh adjusts his weapon as Jabba raves in Huttese, and 3PO struggles back onto the throne. The disheveled droid tries to compose himself.
Oh, but what did I say? The mighty Jabba asks why he must pay 50,000.
The bounty hunter holds up a small silver ball in his hand. 3PO looks at it, then looks at Jabba, then back to the bounty hunter. The droid is very nervous, and Jabba's getting very impatient.
Because he's holding a thermal detonator.
The guards instantly back away, as do most of the other monsters in the room. Jabba stares at the silver ball, which begins to glow in the bounty hunter's hand. The room has fallen into a tense hush. Jabba stares at the bounty hunter malevolently until a sly grin creeps across his vast mouth and he begins to laugh.
Oh, 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 oh. Ah, 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 ah. Aso alyalikul prato kanking boom. Lupang jonalipa. Uni tang tontefai. Takil. Gimal gagash.
Jabba continues.
Jabba offers the sum of 35, and I suggest you take it.
Bib and the other monsters study the bounty hunter and wait for his reaction. Boushh releases a switch on the thermal detonator and it goes dead.
Zibus.
He agrees.
The raucous crowd of monsters erupts in a symphony of cheers and applause as the party returns to its full noisy pitch. Chewbacca growls. As he is led away, we spot Lando Calrissian, disguised as a skiff guard in a partial face mask. The band starts up and dancing girls take the center of the floor to the hoots of the loudly appreciative creatures. Boushh leans against a column with gunfighter cool and surveys the scene, his gaze stopping only when it connects with a glare from across the room. Boba Fett is watching him. Boushh shifts slightly, cradling his weapon lovingly. Boba Fett shifts with equally ominous arrogance. Interior dungeon corridor and cell. Gamorrean guards lead Chewie down the same hallway we saw before. When a tentacle reaches out at the Wookiee, Chewie's ferocious roar echoes against the walls and the tentacle snaps back into its cell in terror. It takes all the guards to hurl Chewie roughly into a cell, slamming the door behind him. Chewie lets out a pathetic howl and bangs on the iron door. Exterior, Jabba's palace. The palace is sitting in the light of the double sunset. On the road in front, a large toad-like creature flicks its tongue out for a desert rodent and burps in satisfaction. Interior, Jabba's throne room, night. Silence. The room is deserted. Only the awful debris of the alien celebration giving mute witness to the activity here before. Several drunk creatures lie unconscious around the room, snoring loudly. A shadowy figure moves stealthily among the columns at the perimeter of the room and is revealed to be Boushh, the bounty hunter. He picks his way carefully through the snoring drunken monsters. Han Solo, the frozen space pirate, hangs spotlighted on the wall, his coffin-like case suspended by a force field. The bounty hunter deactivates the force field by flipping a control switch to one side of the coffin. The heavy case slowly lowers to the floor of the alcove. Boushh steps up to the case, studying Han, and then turns the controls on the side of the coffin. He activates a series of switches and, after one last hesitant look at Han, slides the decarbonization lever. The case begins to emit a sound as the hard shell covering the contours of Han's face begins to melt away. The bounty hunter watches as Han's body is freed of its metallic coat and his forearms and hands, previously raised in reflexive protest, drop slackly to his side. His face muscles relax from their mask of horror. He appears quite dead. Boush's ugly helmet leans close to Han's face, listening for the breath of life. Nothing. He waits. Han's eyes pop open with a start and he begins coughing. The bounty hunter steadies the staggering newborn.
Just relax for a moment. You're free of the carbonite.
Han touches his face with his hand and moans.
Shh. You have hibernation sickness.
I can't see.
Your eyesight will return in time.
Where am I?
Jabba's palace.
Who are you?
The bounty hunter reaches up and lifts the helmet from his head, revealing the beautiful face of Princess Leia.
Someone who loves you.
Leia.
I gotta get you out of here.
As Leia helps her weakened lover to stand up, the relative quiet is pierced by an obscene Huttese cackle from the other side of the alcove.
I know that laugh.
The curtain on the far side of the alcove opens, revealing Jabba the Hutt, surrounded by Bib and other aliens. He laughs again, and his gross cronies join in a cacophony of alien glee.
Hey, Jabba. Look, Jabba. I was just on my way to pay you back, but I got a little sidetracked, all right? It's not my fault.
Chekabog nunib solo. Taking saling pak magla. Iska chata. Menao kong banta pudu. Ho, 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 ho.
Look.
Yan chanichu.
The guards grab Han and start to lead him away.
Jabba, I'll pay you triple. You're throwing away a fortune here. Don't be a fool.
Han is dragged off as Lando quickly moves forward and attempts to lead Leia away.
Lando, kusliadnai.
Jabba chuckles as Lando and his second guard drag the beautiful young princess toward him. 3PO peeks from behind a monster and quickly turns away in disgust.
You have power, or we have powerful friends. You're gonna regret this.
Manamatota.
Inexorably, her lovely face moves to within a few inches of Jabba's ugly blob of a head, and Leia turns away in disgust.
Ugh.
Oh, I can't bear to watch.
Interior dungeon cell. The heavy metal door of the dungeon whines and slowly creaks open. A guard throws the blinded Star Captain into the dark cell, and the door slams shut behind him, leaving only a thin sliver of light from a crack in the door. Han is trying to collect himself when suddenly a growl is heard from the far side of the cell. He jumps back against the cell door and listens.
Chewie? Chewie, is that you?
The shadowy figure lets out a crazy yell and races towards Han, lifting him off the ground with a big hug that carries them into the light, revealing Chewie.
Chewie.
The giant Wookiee barks with glee.
Wait, I can't see, pal. What's going on?
Chewie barks an excited blue streak.
Luke? Luke's crazy. He can't even take care of himself, much less rescue anybody. A Jedi Knight? I'm out of it for a little while and everybody gets delusions of grandeur.
Chewie growls insistently. He holds Han to his chest and pets his head.
I'm all right, pal. I'm all right.
Interior, main gate and hall, Jabba's palace. Noisily, the main gate lifts to flood the blackness with blinding light and reveal the silhouetted figure of Luke Skywalker. He is clad in a robe similar to Ben's and wears neither pistol nor laser sword. Luke strides purposely into the hallway. 2 giant guards move to block Luke's path. Luke halts. Luke raises his hand and points at the puzzled guards, who immediately lower their spears and fall back. The young Jedi lowers his hand and moves on down the hallway. Bib Fortuna appears out of the gloom. He speaks to Luke as they approach each other, but Luke doesn't stop, and Bib must reverse his direction and hurry alongside the young Jedi in order to carry on the conversation, several other guards falling behind them in the darkness.
I must speak with Jabba.
Bib answers in Huttese, shaking his head in denial. Luke stops and stares at Bib. He raises his hand slightly.
You will take me to Jabba now.
Bib turns in hypnotic response to Luke's command, and Luke follows him into the gloom.
You serve your master well.
Bib responds.
And you will be rewarded.
Interior, Jabba's throne room. Jabba is asleep on his throne, while Leia lies in front of him. Salacious sits by Jabba's tail, watching it wriggle. Leia is now dressed in the skimpy costume of a dancing girl. A chain runs from a manacle necklace at her throat to her new master, Jabba the Hutt. 3PO stands behind Jabba as Bib comes up to the gangster slug.
At last, Master Luke's come to rescue me.
Stop.
Oh,
Jabba awakens with a start, and Bib continues in Huttese.
Ni kacawata uta Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight.
Nang Mothma Wang Rimpa Chunki.
I must be allowed to speak.
Isato takolochi.
Jabba furious clobbers Bib and shoves him away.
Kunya Mayiras Kug. Is to wrong ta Jedi mind trick.
Luke stares hard at Jabba.
You will bring Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me.
Oh. Yakun Chacha. Kapunu Nisaki.
Nevertheless, I'm taking Captain Solo and his friends. You can either profit by this or be destroyed. It's your choice, but I warn you, do not underestimate my powers.
Jabba's laugh is mean and loud. 3PO attempts to warn Luke about the pit.
Master Luke, you're standing on.
Manga Wanji Kopa. Jedi. Chulkanya Wi Shajamichu.
Luke reaches out, and a pistol jumps out of a guard's holster and flies into Luke's hand. The bewildered guard grabs for it as Jabba raises his hand.
Oh, Bosca!
The floor suddenly drops away, sending Luke and the hapless guard into the pit. The pistol goes off, blasting a hole in the ceiling. Jabba laughs as his courtiers join in. Leia starts forward, but is restrained by a human guard, Lando, recognizable behind his mask. She looks at him, and he shakes his head. No. Interior Rancor pit. Luke and the guard have dropped 25 feet from a chute into the dungeon-like cage. Luke gets to his feet as the guard yells hysterically for help. A crowd gathers up around the edge of the pit as the door in the side of the pit starts to rumble open. The guard screams in panic. Luke looks calmly around for means of escape.
Oh no, the Rancor!
At the side of the pit, an iron door rumbles upward and a giant fanged Rancor emerges. The guard runs to the side of the pit and tries futilely to scramble to the top. The hideous beast closes in on him. The Rancor moves past Luke, and as the guard continues to scramble, the Rancor picks him up and pops him into its slavering jaws. A few screams, and the guard is swallowed with a gulp. The audience cheers and laughs at the guard's fate. The monster turns and starts for Luke. The young Jedi dashes away just ahead of the monster's swipe at him, and he picks up the long arm bone of an earlier victim. The monster grabs Luke and brings him up to his salivating mouth. At the last moment, Luke wedges the bone in the monster's mouth and is dropped to the floor. The monster bellows in rage and flails about, hitting the side of the pit, causing an avalanche. The monster crushes the bone in his jaws and sees Luke, who squeezes into a crevice in the pit wall. Luke looks past the monster to the holding cave beyond. On the far side of the holding cave is a utility door. If only he can get to it. The Rancor spots Luke and reaches into the crevice for him. Luke grabs a large rock and raises it, smashing it down on the Rancor's finger. Holding tunnel, Rancor pit. The Rancor lets out a loud howl as Luke makes a run for the holding cave. He reaches the door and pushes a button to open it. When he succeeds, he sees a heavy barred gate between him and safety. Beyond the gate, two guards look up from their dinner. Luke turns to see the monster heading for him and pulls with all his might on the gate. The guards move to the gate and start poking at the young Jedi with spears, laughing. Luke crouches against the wall as the monster starts to reach for him. Suddenly, he notices a main door control panel halfway up the wall. As the Rancor moves into the kill, Luke picks up a skull from the cave floor and hurls it at the panel. The giant overhead door comes crashing down on the beast's head, squashing it like a sledgehammer on an egg. A startled gasp is heard from the stunned court. There's consternation at this turn of events. Heads look to Jabba, who is actually turning red with anger. Leia cannot suppress her joy. Jabba utters harsh commands to his guards, and they hurry off.
Yuba o Yambuba Yancha solo Chon Wookie Ulko yu ye magnava chichasko.
Interior Rancor Pit. The Rancor keepers have come into the cage and are examining their dead beast. One of them breaks down and weeps. The other glares menacingly at Luke, who is unworried. Several guards rush into the holding tunnel and take Luke away. Interior throne room. The crowd of creepy courtiers parts as Han and Chewie are brought into the throne room, and other guards drag Luke up the steps.
Han,
Luke,
are you all right?
I'm fine. Together again, huh?
Wouldn't miss it.
How are we doing?
The same as always.
That bad, huh? Where's Leia?
Luke looks to Leia.
I'm here.
3PO is standing behind the grotesque gangster as he strokes Leia like a pet cat. Several of the guards, including Lando, bring Luke from the other side of the room. Boba is standing behind Jabba. 3PO steps forward and translates for the captives.
Oh dear. His High Exaltedness, the great Jabba the Hutt, has decreed that you are to be terminated immediately.
God, I hate long waits.
You will therefore be taken to the Dune Sea and cast into the pit of Carkoon, the nesting place of the all-powerful Sarlacc.
Doesn't sound so bad.
In his belly you will find a new definition of pain and suffering as you are slowly digested over 1,000 years.
On second thought, let's pass on that, yeah?
Chewie barks his agreement.
You should have bargained, Jabba. It's the last mistake you'll ever make.
Jabba
Johnny
claps evilly at this. As the guards drag the prisoners from the throne room, a loud cheer rises from the crowd. Leia and Chewie exchange concerned looks, but Luke Skywalker, Jedi warrior, cannot suppress a smile. Exterior Tatooine Sea, skiff. Jabba's huge sail barge moves across the desert surface accompanied by two smaller skiffs. One of the skiffs glides close, revealing Luke, Han, and Chewie, all in bonds, surrounded by guards, one of whom is Lando in disguise.
I think my eyes are getting better. Instead of a big dark blur, I see a big light blur.
There's nothing to see. I used to live here, you know.
You're gonna die here, you know. Convenient.
Stick close to Chewie and Lando. I've taken care of everything.
Oh, great.
Interior barge observation deck. Jabba the Hutt rides like a sultan in the massive anti-gravity ship. His entire retinue is with him, drinking, eating, and having a good time. Leia is watching her friends in the skiff when the chain attached to her neck is pulled tight, and Jabba tugs the scantily clad princess to him.
Chatu malea kanki ya ima loka yale.
3PO wanders among the sail barge aliens, bumping into a smaller droid serving drinks, spilling them all over the place. The stubby droid lets out an angry series of beeps and whistles.
Oh, I'm terribly R2, what are you doing here? Well, I can see you're serving drinks, but this place is dangerous. They're going to execute Master Luke, and if we're not careful, us too. I wish I had your confidence.
Exterior Sarlacc Pit. The convoy moves up over a huge sand pit. The sail barge stops to one side of the depression, as does the escort skiff. But the prisoner's skiff moves out directly over the center and hovers. At the bottom of the deep cone of sand is a repulsive, mucus-lined hole, surrounded by thousands of needle-sharp teeth. This is the Sarlacc. A plank is extended from the edge of the prisoner's skiff. Guards release Luke's bonds and shove him out onto the plank above the Sarlacc's mouth. Exterior sail barge observation deck. Jabba and Leia are now by the rail, watching. 3PO leans forward and the slobbering villain mumbles something to him. As 3PO steps up to a comlink, Jabba raises his arm and the motley array of intergalactic pirates fall silent. Draco's voice is amplified across loudspeakers.
Victims of the almighty Sarlacc, His Excellency hopes that you will die honorably. But should any of you wish to beg for mercy, the great Jabba the Hutt will now listen to your pleas.
Exterior skiff. Han steps forward arrogantly and begins to speak.
3PO, you tell that slimy piece of worm-ridden filth he'll get no such pleasure from us, right?
Jabba, this is your last chance. Free us or die.
Lando moves unobtrusively along the skiff as Luke shoots a quick look of conspiracy to him. Interior sail barge, observation deck. The assembled monsters rock with mocking laughter as R2 zips unnoticed up the ramp to the upper deck. Jabba's laughter subsides as he speaks into the comlink.
Sakuta Day!
Jabba makes a thumbs-up gesture. Leia looks worried. Exterior, barge, upper deck. R2 appears from below and zips over the rail facing the pit. Below in the skiff, Luke is prodded by a guard to the edge of the plank over the gaping Sarlacc. Luke looks up at R2, then gives a jaunty salute. The signal the little droid has been waiting for. A flap opens in R2's domed head.
Kus Numa!
Exterior skiff, plank. Luke is prodded and jumps off the plank to the cheers of the bloodthirsty spectators. But before anyone can even perceive what is happening, he spins around and grabs the end of the plank by his fingertips. The plank bends wildly from his weight and catapults him skyward. In midair, he does a complete flip and drops down on the edge of the plank in the same spot he just vacated, but facing the skiff. He casually extends an open palm and his lightsaber, which R2 has sent arcing toward him, drops to his hand. With samurai speed, Luke ignites it and attacks the guard who prodded him off the plank, sending the hapless monster screaming overboard. The other guards swarm toward Luke. He wades into them, lightsaber flashing. Lando struggles with another guard at the back of the skiff. Exterior, Sarlacc Pit. The bewildered guard lands in the soft, sandy slope of the pit and begins sliding. He claws desperately as a Sarlacc tentacle grabs him and pulls him screaming into the vicious mouth. Interior, sail barge. Jabba watches this and explodes in rage. He barks commands and the guards around him rush off to do his bidding. The scuzzy creatures watching the action from the window are in an uproar. Exterior, skiff. Luke locks another guard off the skiff and into the waiting mouth of the Sarlacc. He starts to untie Chewie's bonds.
Easy, Chewie.
At that moment, the deck gunmen on the barge unleash a series of blasts from a big cannon on the upper deck. Lando is tossed from the deck of the rocking skiff. He manages to grab a rope and dangles desperately above the Sarlacc Pit.
Whoa, help!
Exterior upper deck sail barge. With 2 swift strides, the dangerous Boba Fett ignites his rocket pack, leaps into the air, and flies from the barge down to the skiff. Exterior skiff. Boba lands on the skiff and starts to aim his laser gun at Luke, who has freed Han and Chewie from their bonds. But before Boba can fire, the young Jedi spins on him, lightsaber sweeping, and hacks the bounty hunter's gun in half. Immediately, the skiff takes another direct hit from the barge's deck gun. Shards of skiff deck fly. Chewie and Han are thrown against the rail.
Sure, you okay? Where is he?
The Wookiee is wounded and he howls in pain.
Well, I'm okay, pal.
For a moment, Luke is distracted, and in that moment, Boba fires a cable out of his armored sleeve. Instantly, Luke is wrapped in a strong cable, his arms pinned against his side, his sword arm free only from the wrist down. Luke bends his wrist so the lightsaber points straight up to reach the wire lasso and cuts through. Luke shrugs away the cable and stands free. Another blast from the barge's deck gun hits near Boba, and he is knocked unconscious to the deck, next to where Lando is hanging.
Han! Chewie!
Lando?
Luke is a little shaken but remains standing as a fusillade brackets him. The second skiff, loaded with guards firing their weapons, moves in on Luke's fast. Luke leaps toward the incoming second skiff. The young Jedi leaps into the middle of the second skiff and begins decimating the guards from their midst. Chewie, wounded, tries to lift himself as he barks directions to Han, guiding him toward a spear which has been dropped by one of the guards. Han searches the deck as Chewie barks directions. Finally, he grabs hold of the spear. Boba Fett, badly shaken, rises from the deck. He looks over at the other skiff where Luke is whipping a mass of guards. Boba raises his arm and aims his lethal appendage. Chewie barks desperately at Han.
Boba Fett? Boba Fett, where?
The space pirate turns around blindly, and the long spear in his hand whacks squarely in the middle of Boba's rocket pack. The impact of the swing causes the rocket pack to ignite. Boba blasts off, flying over the second skiff like a missile, smashing against the sides of the huge sail barge and sliding away into the pit. He screams as his armored body makes its last flight past Lando and directly into the mucus mouth of the Sarlacc. The Sarlacc burps. Chewie growls a weak congratulations to Han. Interior, sail barge. Leia turns from the spectacle outside, leaps onto Jabba's throne, and throws the chain that enslaves her over his head, around his bulbous neck. Then she dives off the other side of the throne, pulling the chain violently in her grasp. Jabba's flaccid neck contracts beneath the tightening chain. His huge eyes bulge from their sockets, and his scum-coated tongue flops out. The exalted Hutt's huge tail spasms through its death throes, and then slams down into final stillness. Leia struggles to free herself of her bondage. Exterior, skiff. Luke continues to destroy the aliens on the guard skiff as Han extends his spear downward to Lando, who is still dangling precariously from a rope on the prisoner's skiff.
Lando, grab it.
Lower it!
I'm trying.
A major hit from the barge deck gun knocks the skiff on its side. Han and almost everything else on board slides overboard. The rope breaks and Lando falls to the side of the Sarlacc pit. Luckily, Han's foot catches on the skiff railing and he dangles above Lando in the pit. The wounded Wookiee holds on the skiff for dear life as another hit from the deck gun rocks the skiff violently.
Whoa, whoa. Grab me, Chewie. I'm slipping.
Chewie grabs hold of Han's feet, holding him upside down as Han extends the spear towards Lando, who is clutching to the side of the pit.
Grab it. Lando, grab it.
Luke finishes off the last guard on the second skiff. He sees the deck gun blasting away at his helpless companions. Luke leaps from the skiff across a chasm of air to the sheer metallic side of the sail barge. Barely able to get a finger hold, he begins a painful climb up the hull when suddenly an axe smashes through a window an inch from his head. With Jedi agility, Luke grasps the wrist holding the axe and yanks the helpless guard through the broken window and into the deadly pit. The injured Chewie is reaching over the rail for the dangling Han, who is in turn blindly reaching down toward the desperate Lando. The Baron has stopped his slippage down the sandy slope of the Sarlacc pit by lying very still. Every time he tries to reach for Han, the loose sand moves him closer to his final reward.
Grab it. Almost. You almost got it.
Another blast hits the front of the tilted skiff, causing Lando to let go of the spear.
Hold it! Whoa!
Again, Han extends the spear toward Lando.
Gently now. All right. Now, easy. Easy. Hold me, Chewie.
Lando screams. One of the Sarlacc's tentacles has wrapped tightly around his ankle, dragging him down the side of the pit.
Chewie. Chewie, give me the gun. Don't move, Lando.
No, wait! I thought you were blind!
It's all right. Trust me. Don't move.
All right. A little higher. Little higher!
Han adjusts his aim as Lando lowers his head, and the fuzzy-eyed pirate fires at the tentacle. Direct hit. The tentacle releases Lando, and Chewie starts to pull them on board the skiff.
Chewie, pull us up. Come on. Okay, up, Chewie, up.
Exterior upper deck. The deck gunners have Chewie and the desperate dangling human chain in their gun sights when something up on deck commands their attention. Luke, standing before them like a pirate king, ignites his lightsaber. The deck gunners have barely reached for their pistols before the young Jedi has demolished them. Immediately, Luke turns to see two more gunners, who have been uncovering a giant gun at the end of the barge, racing for him, firing their laser pistols. Interior, sail barge, observation deck. Leia is struggling against her chains in desperation as R2 zips through the tumult of confused monsters to the rescue. The stubby little droid extends a small laser gun and blasts the chain apart.
On, we gotta get out of here, quick.
R2 and Leia race for the exit, passing 3PO, who is kicking and screaming as Salacious Crumb, the reptilian monkey monster, picks out one of the golden droid's eyes.
Not my eyes, R2, help quickly, R2. Oh, you beast.
R2 zips over and zaps Salacious, sending him skyward with a scream. Crashing in the rafters as R2, Leia, and 3PO, with his eye dangling from a wire, hurry off. Exterior upper deck, sail barge. Luke is warding off laser blasts with his lightsaber, surrounded by guards and fighting like a demon. Leia emerges onto the deck as Luke turns to face another guard.
Get the gun and point at the deck!
Leia turns toward the barge cannon, climbs on the platform, and swivels the gun around.
Point at the deck!
A laser blast hits Luke's mechanical hand, and he bends over in pain, but manages to swing his lightsaber upward and take out the last of the guards. He looks at the wounded hand, which reveals the mechanism. He flexes the hand. It still works. Near the rail of the upper deck, R2 and 3PO steady themselves as 3PO gets ready to jump. R2 beeps wildly.
R2, where are we going? I couldn't possibly jump.
R2 butts the golden droid over the edge and steps off himself, tumbling toward the sand. Luke runs along the empty deck toward Leia and the barge gun, which she has brought around to point down at the deck.
Come on.
Luke has hold on one of the rigging ropes from the mast. He gathers Leia in his other arm and kicks the trigger of the deck gun. The gun explodes into the deck as Luke and Leia swing out toward the exterior skiff. Han leans, panting against the rail as Chewie helps Lando onto the deck. Luke and Leia land on the skiff with flair.
Let's go, and don't forget the droids.
On our way.
The sail barge is exploding in stages in the distance. Half of the huge craft is on fire. Exterior sand dune. 3PO's leg sticks straight up from the dune where he landed. Next to it, R2's periscope is the only thing above the sand. The skiff floats above them, and two large electromagnets dangle down on a wire. With a loud clang, both droids are pulled from the sand. Exterior, Dune Sea. The little skiff skips around the burning sail barge, which continues its chain of explosions. As the skiff sails off across the desert, the barge settles to the sand and disappears in one final conflagration. Exterior, Dune Sea, landing area. A ferocious sandstorm blocks our view. Then, through the roar, we hear the voices of our heroes. They emerge slowly from the veil of sand, pressing on against the wind. First comes R2 and 3PO, followed by Leia guiding Han. Then Luke and Lando come into view, each supporting one side of the towering Chewbacca, who hobbles from his wound. Soon they can make out some large, vague shapes in the blowing sand. It is the Millennium Falcon, and, parked beside it, Luke's trusty X-Wing and a two-seated Y-Wing. They must shout to be heard.
I don't know. All I can see is a lot of blowing sand.
That's all any of us can see.
And I guess I'm getting better.
As soon as the group huddles under the bulk of the Falcon, the wind dies down to something more describable as a severe weather condition. 3PO hits a switch and the gangplank lowers with a hum.
I gotta hand it to you, kid. You're pretty good out there.
I had a lot of help. Think nothing of it.
No, I'm thinking a lot about it. A carbon freeze was the closest thing to dead there is. And it wasn't just sleeping. It was a big, wide awake nothing.
Luke nods as Chewie growls affectionately at the young Jedi warrior, mussing his hair like a proud uncle. And Leia warmly hugs him.
See you back at the fleet.
Why don't you leave that crate and come with us?
I have a promise to keep first. To an old friend.
Luke and R2 take off in their spacecraft.
Guess I owe you some things too, Lando.
Figured if I left you frozen like that, you'd just give me bad luck the rest of my life. So I might as well get you unfrozen sooner rather than later.
He means you're welcome.
Come on, let's get off this miserable dust ball.
Exterior, space above Tatooine. The desolate yellow planet fills the screen. Luke's X-Wing appears and peels off to the left. A moment later, the Falcon appears as a dot and grows huge, to roar directly over the camera. Interior, X-Wing, cockpit. Luke is at the controls, with R2 attached behind him outside the canopy. Luke speaks into his comlink to the others in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I'll meet you back at the fleet.
Hurry, the Alliance should be assembling soon.
I will.
Luke, thanks. Thanks for coming out to me. Now I owe you one.
A message from R2 appears on the small monitor screen in front of Luke. He smiles at the monitor and speaks to R2 as he pulls a black glove on to cover his wounded mechanical hand.
That's right, R2. We're going to the Dagobah system. I promise to keep. To an old friend.
Exterior, space, Death Star and Endor. A super star destroyer and several ships of the Imperial fleet rest in space above the half-completed Death Star and its green neighbor, Endor. 4 squads of TIE fighters escort an Imperial shuttle toward the Death Star. Interior, Death Star, corridor to docking bay. Lord Vader strides down the hallway, accompanied by a very nervous Death Star commander. Interior, docking bay, Death Star. Thousands of Imperial troops in tight formation fill the mammoth docking bay. Vader and the officer walk to the leading platform where the shuttle is coming to rest. The shuttle's ramp lowers and the Emperor's royal guards come out and create a lethal perimeter. The assembled troops move to rigid attention with a momentous snap. Then, in the huge silence which follows, the Emperor appears. He is a rather small, shriveled old man. His bent frame slowly makes its way down the ramp with the aid of a gnarled cane. He wears a hooded cloak similar to the one Ben wears, except that it is black. The Emperor's face is shrouded and difficult to see, except for his piercing yellow eyes. Commander Jerjerrod and Darth Vader kneel to him. The supreme ruler of the galaxy beckons to the Dark Lord.
Rise, my friend.
Vader rises and falls in next to the Emperor as he slowly makes his way along the rows of troops. Jerjerrod and the other commanders stay kneeling until the supreme ruler and Vader, followed by several Imperial dignitaries, pass by. Only then do they join in the procession.
The Death Star will be completed on schedule.
You have done well, Lord Vader. And now I sense you wish to continue your search for young Skywalker.
Yes, my master.
Patience, my friend. In time, he will seek you out. And when he does, you must bring him.
That's your line. Keeps going.
Oh, keeps going. Before me, he has grown strong. Only together can we turn him to the dark side of the Force.
As you wish.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
He laughs to himself as they pass along the vast line of Imperial troops. Exterior Yoda's house, Dagobah. Once again, R2 finds himself waiting around in the damp environs of the swamp planet, and he's none too happy about it. He beeps discontently to himself and turns to look at Yoda's cottage. Warm yellow light escapes the oddly shaped windows to fight the gloom. Interior Yoda's house. The tip of a walking stick taps hesitantly across the earthen floor of the cottage. Our view travels up to the stick with a small green hand that clutches it, and then to the familiar face of Yoda, the Jedi Master. His manner is frail, and his voice, though cheerful, seems weaker.
That face you make. Look, I so old to young eyes.
Luke is sitting in a corner of the cramped space, and indeed, his look has been woeful. Caught, he tries to hide it.
No, of course not.
I do, yes, I do. Sick have I become. Old and weak. When 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not.
Yoda chuckles at this, coughs, and hobbles over toward his bed.
Soon will I rest. Yes. Forever sleep. Earned it I have.
Yoda sits himself on his bed with great effort.
Master Yoda, you can't die.
Strong I am with the Force, but not that strong. Twilight is upon me, and soon night must fall. That is the way of the things, the way of the Force.
I need your help. I've come back to complete the training.
No more training do you require. Already know you, that which you need.
Yoda sighs and lies back on his bed.
And I am a Jedi.
Not yet. One thing remains. Vader. You must confront Vader. Then, only then, a Jedi will you be. And confront me well.
Luke is in agony. He is silent for a long moment, screwing up his courage. Finally, he is able to speak.
Master Yoda, is Darth Vader my father?
Yoda's eyes are full of weariness and compassion, and an odd, sad smile creases his face. He turns painfully on his side, away from Luke.
Rest I need. Yes, rest.
Luke watches him, each moment an eternity.
Yoda, I must know.
Your father he is.
Luke reacts as if cut.
Told you, did he?
Yes.
A new look of concern crosses Yoda's face. He closes his eyes.
Unexpected this is. And unfortunate.
Fortunate that I know the truth.
Yoda opens his eyes again and studies the youth.
No. Unfortunate that you rushed to face him. That incomplete was your training. Not ready for the burden, were you?
Sorry.
Remember, a Jedi's strength flows from the Force. But beware, anger, fear, aggression. The dark side are they. Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny.
He beckons the young Jedi closer to him.
Luke, do not underestimate the powers of the Emperor. He kicked my ass one time. Or suffer your father's fate, you will. Luke, when gone the last of the Jedi, will you be? Luke, the Force runs strong in your family. Pass on what you have learned, Luke. There is another Skywalker.
He catches his breath. A shiver runs through the ancient green creature and he dies. Luke stares at his dead master as he disappears in front of his eyes. Exterior, Dagobah Swamp, X-Wing. Luke wanders back to where his ship is sitting. R2 beeps a greeting but is ignored by his desperate master. Luke kneels down, begins to help R2 with the ship, then stops and shakes his head dejectedly.
Can't do it, R2. I can't go on alone.
Yoda will always be with you.
Luke looks up to see the shimmering image of Ben Kenobi.
Obi-Wan, why didn't you tell me?
The ghost of Ben Kenobi approaches him through the swamp.
You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father.
Your father was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man who was your father was destroyed. So what I have told you was true, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
Luke is unresponsive. Ben studies him in silence for a moment.
I don't blame you for being angry. If I was wrong in what I did, it certainly wouldn't have been for the first time. You see, what happened to your father was my fault.
Ben pauses sadly.
Anakin was a good friend.
Luke turns with interest at this. As Ben speaks, Luke settles on a stump, mesmerized. R2 comes over to offer his comforting presence.
When I first knew him, your father was already a great pilot, but I was amazed how strongly the Force was with him. I took it upon myself to train him as a Jedi. I thought that I could instruct him just as well as Yoda. I was wrong. My pride has had terrible consequences for the galaxy.
Luke is entranced.
There's still good in him.
I also thought he could be turned back to the good side. It couldn't be done. He was more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
I can't do it, Ben.
You cannot escape your destiny.
I tried to stop him once. I couldn't do it.
Vader humbled you when first you met him, Luke. But that experience was part of your training. It taught you, among other things, the value of patience. Had you not been so impatient to defeat Vader then, you could have finished your training here with Yoda. You would have been prepared.
I had to help my friends.
And did you help them? It was they who had to save you. You achieved little by rushing back prematurely, I fear.
I found out Darth Vader was my father.
To be a Jedi, Luke, you must confront and then go beyond the dark side, the side your father couldn't get past. Impatience is the easiest door, for you, like your father. Only, Your father was seduced by what he found on the other side of the door, and you have held firm. You're no longer so reckless now, Luke. You are strong and patient, and now you must face Darth Vader again.
I can't kill my own father.
Then the Empire has already won. You were our only hope.
Yoda spoke of another.
The other he spoke of is your twin sister.
I have no sister.
To protect you both from the Emperor, you were hidden away from your father when you were born. The Emperor knew, as I did, if Anakin were to have any offspring, they would be a great threat to him. That is the reason why your sister remains safely anonymous.
Leia. Leia's my sister.
Your insight serves you well. Bury your feelings deep down, Luke. They do you credit. But they could be made to serve the Emperor.
Luke looks into the distance, trying to comprehend all this.
When your father left, he didn't know your mother was pregnant. Your mother and I knew he would find out eventually, but we wanted to keep you both as safe as possible, for as long as possible. So I took you to live with my brother Owen on Tatooine, and your mother took Leia to live as the daughter of Senator Organa on Alderaan.
Luke turns and settles near Ben to hear the tale.
The Organa household was highborn and politically quite powerful in that system. Leia became a princess by virtue of lineage. No one knew she'd be adopted, of course. But it was a title without real power, since Alderaan had been a long democracy. Even so, family continued to be politically powerful, and Leia, following in her foster father's path, became a senator as well. That's not all she became, of course. She became the leader of her cell in the alliance against the corrupt Empire. And because she had diplomatic immunity, she was a vital link for getting information to the rebel cause. That's what she was doing when her path crossed yours. For her foster parents had always told her to contact me on Tatooine if her troubles became desperate.
Luke is overwhelmed by the truth and is suddenly protective of his sister.
You can't let her get involved now, Ben. Vader will destroy her.
She hasn't been trained in the ways of the Jedi the way you have, Luke. But the Force is strong with her, as it is with all of your family. There is no avoiding the battle. You must face and destroy Vader.
Exterior space, Rebel fleet. The vast Rebel fleet stretches as far as the eye can see. Overhead, a dozen small Corellian battleships fly in formation. Fighters and battlecruisers surround the largest of the Rebel star cruisers, the Headquarters Frigate. Enter Headquarters Frigate, main briefing room. Hundreds of Rebel commanders of all races and forms are assembled in the war room. Wedge is among them. In the center of the room is a holographic model depicting the half-completed Imperial Death Star, the nearby moon of Endor, and the protecting deflector shield. Mon Mothma, the leader of the Alliance, enters the room. She is a stern but beautiful woman in her 50s. Conferring with her are several military leaders, including General Medine and Admiral Ackbar, a salmon-colored Mon Calamari. Lando moves through the crowd until he finds Han and Chewie standing next to Leia and the two droids. Han peers at Lando's new insignia on his chest and is amused.
Oh, look at you. A general, huh?
Well, somebody must have told him about my little maneuver at the Battle of Tanab.
Don't look at me, pal. I just said you were a fair pilot. I didn't know they were looking for somebody to lead this crazy attack.
I'm surprised they didn't ask you to do it.
Well, who says they didn't? But I ain't crazy. You're the respectable one, remember?
Mon Mothma signals for attention and the room falls silent.
The Emperor has made a critical error and the time for our attack has come.
This causes a stir. Mon Mothma turns to a holographic model of the Death Star, the Endor moon, and the protecting deflector shield in the center of the room.
The data brought to us by the Bothan spies pinpoints the exact location of the Emperor's new battle station. We also know that the weapon systems of this Death Star are not yet operational, With the Imperial fleet spread throughout the galaxy in a vain effort to engage us, it is relatively unprotected. But most important of all, we've learned that the Emperor himself is personally overseeing the final stages of the construction of this Death Star.
A volley of spirited chatter erupts from the crowd. Han turns to Leia as Chewie barks his amazement.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information. Admiral Ackbar, please.
Admiral Ackbar steps forward and points to the Death Star's force field and the moon of Endor.
You can see here the Death Star orbiting the first moon of Endor, although the weapon systems on this Death Star are not yet operational. The Death Star have a strong defense mechanism. It is protected by an energy shield, which is generated from the nearby forest moon of Endor. The shield must be deactivated if any attack is to be attempted. Once the shield is down, our cruisers will create a perimeter, while the fighters fly into the superstructure and attempt to knock out the main reactor.
There's a concerned murmur.
General Calrissian has volunteered to lead the fighter attack.
Han turns to Lando with a look of respect.
Good luck.
Lando nods his thanks.
You're gonna need it.
General Madine.
Madine moves center stage.
We've stolen a small Imperial shuttle disguised as a cargo ship and using a secret Imperial code. A strike team will land on the moon and deactivate the shield generator.
The assembly begins to mumble among themselves.
Sounds dangerous.
I wonder who they found to pull that off.
General Solo, is your strike team assembled?
Leia, startled, looks up at Han, surprise changing to admiration.
My team's ready, but I don't have a command crew for the shuttle.
Chewbacca raises his hairy paw and volunteers. Han looks up at him.
Well, it's gonna be rough, pal. I didn't want to speak for you. That's one.
General, count me in.
I'm with you too.
They turn in that direction and peer into the crowd as there are more cheers. Commanders part, and there at the back stands Luke. Han and Leia are surprised and delighted. Leia moves to Luke and embraces him warmly. She senses a change in him and looks into his eyes questioningly.
What is it?
Ask me again sometime.
Han, Chewie, and Lando crowd around Luke as the assembly breaks up.
Luke.
Hey, Han. Chewie.
R2 beeps a sing-song observation to a worried 3PO.
Exciting is hardly the word I would use.
Interior, headquarters, frigate, main docking bay. The Millennium Falcon rests beyond the stolen Imperial shuttle, which looks anomalous among all the rebel ships in the vast docking bay. Chewie barks a final farewell to Lando and leads R2 and 3PO up the shuttle, crowded now with the rebel strike team loading weapons and supplies. Lando turns to face Han. Luke and Leia have said their goodbyes and start up the ramp.
Look, I want you to take her. I mean it. Take her. Need all the help you can get. She's the fastest ship in the fleet.
All right, old buddy. You know, I knew that what she means to you. I'll take good care of her. She won't get a scratch, all right?
Right. I got your promise now. Not a scratch.
Look, would you get going, you pirate?
Han and Lando pause, then exchange salutes.
Good luck.
You too.
Han goes up the ramp. Lando watches him go and then slowly turns away. Interior, Imperial shuttle, cockpit. Luke is working on a back control panel as Han comes in and takes the pilot's seat. Chewie, in the seat next to him, is trying to figure out all the Imperial controls.
You got her warmed up?
Yeah, she's coming up.
Chewie growls a complaint.
No, I don't think the Empire had Wookiees in mind when they designed her, Chewie.
Leia comes in from the hold and takes her seat next to Luke. Chewie barks and hits some switches. Han's glance has stuck on something out the window. The Millennium Falcon. Leia nudges him gently.
Hey, you awake?
Yeah, just got a funny feeling. Like, I'm never gonna see her again.
Chewie, hearing this, stops his activity and looks longingly out at the Falcon too. Leia puts a hand on Han's shoulder.
Come on, General. Let's move.
Han snaps back to life.
Right. Chewie, let's see what this piece of junk can do. Ready, everybody?
All set.
Here we go again.
All right. Hang on.
Exterior, space, the rebel fleet. The stolen Imperial shuttle leaves the main docking bay of the headquarters frigate, lowers its wings into flight position, and zooms off into space. Interior, Emperor's throne room. The converted control room is dimly lit, except for a pool of light at the far end. Then the Emperor sits in an elaborate control chair. The Emperor sits in an elaborate control chair before a large window which looks out across the half-complete Death Star to the giant green moon of Endor. Darth Vader, standing with other members of the Imperial Council, cautiously approaches his master. The ruler's back is to Vader. After several tense moments, the Emperor's chair rotates around to face him.
What is thy bidding, my master?
Send the fleet to the far side of Endor. This is where it will stay until called for.
What of the reports of rebel fleets massing near Solos?
It is of no concern. Soon the rebellion will be crushed and young Skywalker will be one of us. Your work here is finished, my friend. Go out to the command ship and await my orders.
Yes, my master.
Vader bows, then turns and exits the throne room as the Emperor walks toward the waiting council members. Exterior, space, Death Star, moon. There's a great deal of Imperial traffic in the area as construction proceeds on the Death Star. Transports, TIE fighters, and a few Star Destroyers move about. Now the huge Super Star Destroyer announces itself with a low roar and soon fills the frame. Tier, stolen Imperial shuttle, cockpit. Han looks back at Luke and Leia as Chewie flips several switches. Through the view screen, the Death Star and the huge Super Star Destroyer can be seen.
They don't go for this. You're going to have to get out of here pretty quick, Chewie.
Chewie growls his agreement.
We have you on our control screen now. Please identify.
Shuttle to Tedrium, requesting deactivation of the deflector shield.
Shuttle Tidarium, transmit the clearance code for shield passage.
Transmission commencing.
Leia and Chewbacca listen tensely as the sound of a high-speed transmission begins.
Now we find out if that code is worth the price we paid.
It'll work.
Chewie whines nervously. Luke stares at the huge Super Star Destroyer that looms ever larger before them.
What was that, Luke?
Vader's on that ship.
Now don't get jittery, kid. There are a lot of command ships. Keep your distance, though, Chewie. But don't look like you're trying to keep your distance. I don't know. Fly casual.
I'm endangering the mission. I shouldn't have come.
It's your imagination, kid. Come on. Let's keep a little optimism here.
Chewie barks his worries as the Super Star Destroyer grows larger out the window. Interior, Vader's Star Destroyer bridge. Lord Vader stands back to us, staring out a window at the Death Star. Now, some vibration felt only by him causes him to turn. After a moment of stillness, he walks down the row of controllers to where Admiral Piett is leaning over the tracking screen of the controller we've seen earlier. Piett straightens at Vader's approach.
Where is that shuttle going?
Shuttle Tidarium, what is your cargo and destination?
Parts and technical crew for the Forest Moon.
The bridge commander looks to Vader for a reaction.
Do they have a code clearance?
It's an older code, sir, but it checks out. I was about to clear them.
Vader looks upward as he senses Luke's presence.
Shall I hold them?
No. Leave them to me. I will deal with them myself.
As you wish, my lord. Carry on.
Piett nods at controller, who switches on his comlink. Interiors, stolen Imperial shuttle cockpit. The group waits tensely.
They're not going for it, Chewie.
Shuttle Tidarium, deactivation of the shield will commence immediately. Follow your present course.
Everyone breathes a sigh of relief. Everyone but Luke, who looks worried. Chewie barks.
Okay. I told you it was going to work. No problem.
Exterior space, stolen Imperial shuttle, Endor. The stolen Imperial shuttle moves off toward the green sanctuary moon. Exterior forest landing site, Endor. The stolen Imperial shuttle sits in a clearing of the moon's dark primeval forest, dwarfed by the ancient tower and trees. On an adjacent hill, the helmeted rebel contingent makes its way up a steep trail. Leia and Han are slightly ahead of Chewie and Luke. The troops of the strike team squad follow, with R2 and 3PO bringing up the rear. R2 beeps. Up ahead, Chewie and Leia reach a crest in the hill and drop suddenly to the ground, signaling the rest of the group to stop. Han and Luke crawl up to take a look.
Oh, I told you it was dangerous here.
Their POV. Not far below them, 2 Imperial scouts are wandering through bushes in the valley below. Their 2 rocket bikes are parked nearby.
Will we try to go around?
Take time. This whole party will be for nothing if they see us.
Leia motions for the squad to stay put. Then she, Han, Luke, and Chewie start quietly down. Exterior forest clearing campsite. The 4 friends make their way to the edge of the clearing, not far from the 2 Imperial scouts.
Chewie and I will take care of this. You stay here.
Quietly. There might be more of them out there.
Hey, it's me.
Han and Chewie turn and start through the bushes toward the scouts. Luke and Leia exchange smiles. Han sneaks up behind one of the scouts, steps on a twig, and the scout whirls, knocking Han into a tree. The scout shouts for his companion.
Go for help! Go!
The second scout jumps on his speeder bike and takes off, but Chewie gets off a shot on his crossbow laser weapon, causing the scout to crash into a tree. Han and scout number 1 are in a rousing fistfight.
Great. Come on.
Luke starts for the scuffle, followed by Leia with her laser pistols drawn. As they run through the bushes, Leia stops and points to where 2 more scouts are sitting on their speeder bikes with an unoccupied bike parked nearby.
Over there, 2 more of them.
I see them. Wait, Leia!
But Leia doesn't hear him and races for the remaining speeder bike. She starts it up and takes off as Luke jumps on the bike behind her.
Quick, jam their comm link. Center switch.
Luke and Leia speed into the dense foliage in hot pursuit, barely avoiding 2 huge trees.
Hey, wait! Ah!
He flips the remaining scout to the ground. Exterior forest, the bike chase. The 2 fleeing Imperial scouts have a good lead as Luke and Leia pursue through the giant trees at 200 miles an hour. The fire from their bikes' laser cannon hitting harmlessly near the moving targets.
Move closer.
Leia guns it, closing the gap as the 2 scouts recklessly veer through a narrowed gap in the trees. One of the bikes scrapes a tree, slowing the scout.
We'll get alongside that one.
Leia pulls her speeder bike up so close to the scout's bike that their steering vanes scrape noisily. Luke leaps from his bike to the back of the scouts, grabs the Imperial warrior around the neck, and flips him off the bike into a thick tree trunk. Luke gains control of the bike and follows Leia, who is pulled ahead. They tear off after the remaining scout.
Get him.
The speeding chase passes 2 more Imperial scouts. These 2 swing into pursuit, chasing Luke and Leia, firing away with their laser cannon. The 2 rebels look behind them just as Luke's bike takes a glancing hit.
Keep on that one. I'll take these 2.
With Leia shooting ahead, Luke suddenly slams his steering vanes into the braking mode. Luke's bike is a blur to the 2 pursuing scouts as they zip by him on either side. Luke slams his bike into forward and starts firing away, having switched places with his pursuers in a matter of seconds. Luke's aim is good, and one scout's bike is blasted out of control. It explodes against a tree trunk. The scout's cohort takes one glance back at the flash and shifts into turbo drive, going even faster. Luke keeps on his tail. Far ahead, Leia and the first scout are doing a high-speed slalom through the death-dealing trunks. Now Leia aims her bike skyward and rises out of sight. The scout turns in confusion, unable to see his pursuer. Suddenly, Leia dives down upon him from above, cannon blasting. The scout's bike takes a glancing hit. Leia moves in alongside him. The scout eyes her beside him, reaches down, and pulls out a handgun. Before Leia can react, the scout has blasted her bike, sending out of control. Leia dives off as her bike explodes against a tree. The happy scout looks back at the explosion, but when he turns forward again, he is on a collision course with the giant fallen tree. He hits his brakes to no avail and disappears in a conflagration. Another part of the forest. Luke and the last remaining scout continue their weaving chase through the trees. Now Luke moves up close. The scout responds by slamming his bike into Luke's. A fallen tree forms a bridge across their path. The scout zips under. Luke goes over the top and crashes his bike down on the scouts. Both riders look ahead. A wide trunk looms directly in Luke's path, but the scout's bike beside him makes it almost impossible for him to avoid it. Luke banks with all his might, leaning almost horizontal over the scout's bike, and is able to make it by, just clipping the tree. When he straightens, he and the scout discover that their two bikes have locked front vanes and are moving as one. Another big tree looms in Luke's path. He reacts instinctively and dives off his bike. The two bikes come apart a second before Luke explodes against a tree. The scout sweeps out and circles back to find Luke. Luke rises from the undergrowth as the scout bears down on him and opens fire with his laser cannon. Luke ignites his laser sword and begins deflecting the bolts. The scout's bike keeps coming, and it appears that in a second it will cut Luke in half. At the last instant, Luke steps aside and chops off the bike's control vanes with one mighty slash. The scout's bike begins to shudder. Then, pitching and rolling, it rises up to slam directly into a tree in a giant ball of fire. Exterior, scout campsite, forest. Han, Chewie, and the droids, along with the rest of the squad, wait anxiously in the clearing. R2's radar screen sticks out of his domed head and revolves, scanning the forest. He beeps.
Oh, General Solo, somebody's coming. Oh.
Han, Chewie, and the rest of the squad raise their weapons. Luke steps out of the foliage to find the weapons trained on him. He's too tired to care. He plops himself down on a boulder and looks around.
Luke, where's Leia?
Well, what, she didn't come back?
I thought she was with you.
We had separated.
Han and Luke exchange a silent, grim look. Luke gets up wearily.
Hey, we better go look for her.
Han nods and signals to a rebel officer.
Take the squad ahead. We'll meet at the shield generator at 0300.
Come on, R2. We'll need your scanners.
Luke, Chewie, Han, and the droids move off in one direction and the squad proceeds in another.
Don't worry, Master Luke. We know what to do.
They move off into the woods.
And you said it was pretty here. Ah.
Exterior, forest clearing, Leia's crash site. A strange little furry creature with huge black eyes comes slowly into view. The creature is an Ewok by the name of Wicket. He seems somewhat puzzled and prods Leia with a spear. The princess groans. This frightens the stubby ball of fuzz, and he prods her again. Leia sits up and stares at the 3-foot-high Ewok. She tries to figure out where she is and what has happened. Her clothes are torn. She's bruised and disheveled. The Ewok jumps up and grabs a 4-foot-long spear, which he holds in a defensive position. Leia watches him as he circles warily and begins poking her with the sharp point of the spear.
Cut it out.
She stands up and the Ewok quickly backs away.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
Leia looks around the dense forest and at the charred remains of her speeder bike, then sits down with a sigh on a fallen log.
Well, looks like I'm stuck here. Trouble is, I don't know where here is.
She puts her head in her hands to rub away some of the soreness from her fall. She looks over at the watchful little Ewok and pats the log beside her.
Well, maybe you can help me. Come on, sit down.
Wicket holds his spear up warily and growls at her like a puppy. Leia pats the log again.
I promise I won't hurt you. Now come here.
More growls and squeaks from the little bear creature.
All right. You want something to eat?
She takes a scrap of food out of her pocket and offers it to him. Wicket takes a step backward, then cocks his head and moves cautiously toward Leia, chattering in his squeaky Ewok language.
That's right. Come on.
Sniffing the food curiously, the Ewok comes toward Leia and sits on the log beside her. She takes off her helmet and the little creature jumps back, startled again. He runs along the log, pointing his spear at her and chattering a blue streak. Leia holds up the helmet to him.
Look, it's a hat. It's not going to hurt you. Look, you're a jittery little thing, aren't you?
Reassured, Wicket lowers his spear and climbs back on the log, coming to investigate the helmet. Suddenly, his ears perk up and he begins to sniff the air. He looks around warily, whispering some Ewokese warning to Leia.
What is it?
Suddenly, a laser bolt comes out of the foliage and explodes on the log next to Leia. Leia and Wicket both roll backwards off the log, hiding behind it. Leia holds her own laser gun ready while Wicket disappears underneath the log. Another shot and still no sight of anyone in the forest. Then Leia senses something and turns to find a large Imperial scout standing over her with his weapon pointed at her head. He reaches out his hand for her weapon.
Breeze. Come on, get up.
She hands the weapon over as a second scout emerges from the foliage in front of the log.
Go get your ride and take her back to base.
Yes, sir.
The second scout starts towards his bike as Wicket, crouched under the log, extends his spear and hits the first scout on the leg. The scout jumps and lets out an exclamation and looks down at Wicket, puzzled. Leia grabs a branch and knocks him out. She dives for his laser pistol, and the second scout, now on his bike, takes off. Leia fires away and hits the escaping bike, causing it to crash on the first scout's bike, which flies end over end and explodes. The forest is quiet once more. Wicket pokes his fuzzy head up from behind that log and regards Leia with a new respect. He mumbles his awe. Leia hurries over, looking around all the time, and motions the chubby little creature into the dense foliage.
Come on, let's get out of here.
As they move into the foliage, Wicket takes the lead. He shrieks and tugs at Leia to follow him. Interior Death Star, corridor to Emperor's Tower. Interior Death Star, corridor to Emperor's Tower. Darth Vader walks down the corridor to the Emperor's Tower in private elevator. The Emperor's private guard steps in Vader's path.
Halt. The Emperor does not wish to be disturbed at the moment.
The Emperor will see me now.
The Emperor will see you now.
Interior Emperor's Tower, throne room. 2 red Imperial guards stand watch at the elevator as the door opens to reveal Vader. Vader enters the eerie, foreboding throne room. It appears to be empty. His footsteps echo as he approaches the throne. He waits, absolutely still. The Emperor sits with his back to the Dark Lord.
I told you to remain on the command ship.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
Yes, I know.
My son is with them.
Are you sure?
I have felt him, my master.
Strange that I have not. I wonder if your feelings on this matter are clear, Lord Vader.
Vader knows what is being asked.
They are clear, my master.
Then you must go to the sanctuary moon and wait for them.
You will come to me.
I have foreseen it. His compassion for you will be his undoing. He will come to you, and then you will bring him before me.
As you wish.
The Dark Lord strides out of the throne room. Exterior, forest clearing, Leia's crash site. Han, Luke, and Chewie and the 2 droids are spread out as they move through the heavy foliage near the clearing where we last saw Leia. Luke finds Leia's helmet, picks it up with an expression of concern.
Luke! Luke!
Luke runs with the helmet to where Han has found the charred wreckage of a speeder bike in the grass.
Oh, Master Luke.
There's 2 more wrecked speeders back there, and I found this.
He tosses the helmet to Han.
I'm afraid that R2's sensors can find no trace of Princess Leia.
I hope she's all right.
Chewbacca growls, sniffing the air, then, with a bark, pushes off through the foliage.
Chewie? What, Chewie?
The others rush to keep up with the giant Wookiee. As he scoots along, R2 whistles nervously. Exterior forest, dense foliage. The group has reached a break in the undergrowth. Chewie walks up to a tall stake planted in the ground. There is a dead animal hanging from it.
Hey, I don't get it.
The rest of the group joins the Wookiee around the stake.
No, it's just a dead animal, Chewie.
Chewie can't resist. He reaches toward the meat.
Chewie, wait, don't!
Too late. The Wookiee has already pulled the animal from the stake. Sproing! The group finds itself hanging upside down in an Ewok net, suspended high above the clearing. R2 lets out a wild series of beeps and whistles, and Chewie howls his regret. Their bodies are a jumble in the net. Han removes a Wookiee paw from his mouth.
Nice work. Great, Chewie, great. Always thinking with your stomach.
So you take it easy, just figure a way out of this thing. Han, can you reach my lightsaber?
Yeah, sure.
R2 is at the bottommost point in the net. He extends his cutting appendage and begins slicing at the net. Han is trying to squeeze an arm past 3PO to get at Luke's lightsaber. The net continues to spin.
R2, I'm not sure that's such a good idea. It's a very long drop.
R2 is cut through, and the entire group tumbles out of the net, crashing to the ground. As they regain their sense and sit up, they realize they are surrounded by dozens of Ewoks, each brandishing a large, long spear.
Hey, point that thing someplace else.
Han pushes the spear wielded by Tebow out of his face, and a second Ewok warrior comes up to argue with Tebow. The spear returns to Han's face. He grabs it angrily and starts to go for his laser pistol.
Hey!
Han, don't. It'll be all right.
The Ewoks swarm through them and confiscate their weapons. Luke lets them take his lightsaber. Chewie growls at the furry critters.
Chewie, give him the crossbow.
R2 and 3PO are just entangling themselves. 3PO gets free of the net and sits up, rattled.
Oh, my head. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
When the Ewoks see 3PO, they let out a gasp and chatter amongst themselves. 3PO speaks to them in their native tongue. The Ewok nearest him drops his spear and prostrates himself before the droid. In a moment, all the Ewoks have followed suit. Chewie lets out a puzzled bark. Han and Luke regard the bowed creatures in wonder. The Ewoks begin to chant at 3PO.
Oh, that. Oh.
Do you understand anything they're saying?
Oh, yes, Master Luke. Remember that I am fluent in over 6 million forms of communication.
What are you telling them?
Hello, I think. I could be mistaken. They're using a very primitive dialect. But I do believe they think I'm some sort of god.
Chewbacca and R2 thinks that's very funny. Han and Luke exchange "what next" looks.
Well, why don't you use your divine influence and get us out of this?
I beg your pardon, General Solo, but that just wouldn't be proper.
Proper?
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
Han moves toward 3PO threateningly.
Why you?
Several Ewok spears are thrust in Han's face at the affront to their god. The Ewoks move in to protect their god, and Han is surrounded by a menacing circle of spears, all aimed at him. He holds up his hands placatingly.
My mistake. He's an old friend of mine.
Exterior forest, series of shots. A procession of Ewoks winds through the ever-darkening forest. Their prisoners, Han, Luke, Chewie, and R2, are tied to long poles and wrapped in vines, cocoon-like. Each pole is carried on the shoulders of several Ewoks. Behind the captives, 3PO is carried on a litter, like a king, by the remaining creatures. Exterior forest walkway, moon forest. The procession moves along a shaky, narrow wooden walkway, high in the giant trees. It stops at the end of the walkway, which drops off into nothingness. On the other side of the abyss is a village of mud huts and rickety walkways attached to the giant trees. The lead Ewok takes hold of a long vine and swings across the village square. The other Ewoks follow suit. Exterior Ewok village square. The procession winds its way into the village square. Mother Ewoks gather their babies up and scurry into their huts at the side of the newcomers. The group stops before the largest hut. Han, Luke, Chewie, and R2 are still bound to their poles. Han is placed on a spit above what looks like a barbecue pit, and the others are leaned against a tree nearby. 3PO's litter/throne is gently placed near the pit. He watches with rapt fascination. Han, Luke, and Chewie are less than fascinated.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
Chewie growls his concern. Suddenly, all activity stops as Legray, the tribal medicine man, comes out of the big hut. He examines the captives carefully, goes to join 3PO, whose throne has been placed on an elevated platform. A larger, gray-haired Ewok, Chief Chirpa, is examining Luke's lightsaber with great curiosity. Legray speaks to 3PO and the assemblage of fuzzy Ewoks, pointing to the prisoners tied to the stakes. The Ewoks begin filling the pit under Han with firewood.
What did he say?
I'm rather embarrassed, General Solo, but it appears you ought to be the main course at a banquet in my honor.
The drums start beating and all the furry heads turn to the large hut. Leia emerges wearing an animal skin dress. She sees what's happening at the same moment the prisoners see her.
Leia!
As she moves toward them, the Ewoks block her way with raised spears.
Your Royal Highness.
R2 and Chewie chime in with our welcome. Leia looks at the assembled Ewoks and sighs.
But these are my friends. 3PO, tell them they must be set free.
3PO talks to Chirpa and Legray, who listens and shake their heads negatively. The medicine man gestures toward the prisoners and barks some orders. Several Ewoks jump up and pile more wood on the barbecue with vigor. Leia trades frantic looks with Luke and Han.
Somehow I got the feeling that didn't help us very much.
3PO, tell them if they don't do as you wish, you'll become angry and use your magic.
Master Luke, what magic? I couldn't possibly...
Just tell them.
3PO speaks to the Ewoks. The Ewoks are disturbed. Legray steps forward and challenges 3PO. Luke closes his eyes and begins to concentrate.
You see, Master Luke, they didn't believe me. Just
Now the litter/throne, with 3PO sitting upon it, rises from the ground. At first, 3PO doesn't notice it and keeps talking.
As I said, they would. What's happening? Oh dear. Oh.
The Ewoks fall back in terror from the floating throne. Now 3PO begins to spin as the are on a revolving stool, with 3PO calling out in total panic at his situation.
Put me down. Help, Master Luke, R2, somebody help. Master Luke, R2, quickly do something. Somebody, oh.
Chief Chirpa yells orders to the cowering Ewoks. Prisoners. Luke and Han enfold Leia in a group embrace. Luke notices the spinning 3PO with R2 beeping up at him and slowly lowers the golden droid and the throne to the ground. Legray orders the little droid cut down. R2 crashes to the ground. When the Ewoks set him upright, the little droid is fighting mad. R2 beeps a blue streak at the nearest Ewok and begins pursuing him, finally getting close enough to zap him with an electric charge. The Ewok jumps 2 feet in the air and runs away, screaming. A small group of Ewoks surround the giant Wookiee, scratching their heads and marveling at his height.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thanks, 3PO.
I never knew I had it in me.
Interior, Chief's hut, Council of Elders. A glowing fire dances in the center of the Spartan low-ceilinged room, creating a kaleidoscope of shadows on the walls. Along one side, a group of 10 Ewok elders flank Chief Chirpa, who sits on his throne. The rebels sit along the walls of the hut, with 3PO behind the 2 groups and Wicket and Tebow off to one side. 3PO is in the midst of a long, animated speech in the Ewok's squeaky native tongue. The Ewoks listen carefully and occasionally murmur comments to each other. 3PO points several times the rebel group and pantomime a short history of the Galactic Civil War, mimicking the explosion and rocket sounds, imitating Imperial walkers. Throughout the long account, certain familiar names are distinguishable in English. Princess Leia, R2, Darth Vader, Death Star, Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. R2 begins beeping excitedly at 3PO.
Yes, R2, I was just coming to that.
3PO continues with Millennium Falcon, Cloud City, Vader, Han Solo, Carbonite, Sarlacc, bringing the history up to the present time. At the end of it, the Chief, Legray, and the Elders confer, the non-agreement. The Chief stands and makes a pronouncement. The drums begin to sound, and all the Ewoks stand with a great cheer and preaches.
Seriously, what's going on?
I don't know.
Luke has been sharing the joy with smiling visage, but now something passes like a dark cloud through his consciousness. The others do not notice.
Wonderful. We're now a part of the tribe.
Several of the little teddy bears run up and hug the rebels.
That's just what I always wanted.
Chewbacca is being enthusiastically embraced by an Ewok while Wicket clings to Han's leg.
Well, short help is better than no help at all, Chewie. Why, thank you, okay.
He says the scouts are going to show us the quickest way to the shield generator.
Chewie barks. Luke has drifted to the back of the hut. Now he wanders outside into the moonlight. Leia notices and follows. Han?
Sorry. That's my place there. Good. How far is it? Ask him. We need some fresh supplies too, and try and get our weapons back.
Han pulls 3PO back as he keeps trying to translate.
And hurry up, will you? I haven't got all day.
Exterior, Ewok village, night. The walkway is deserted now. The windows of the little huts glow and flicker from the fires inside. The sounds of the forest fill the soft night air. Luke has wandered away from the chief's hut and stands staring up at the Death Star. Leia finds him like that.
Luke, what's wrong?
Luke turns and looks at her for a long moment.
Leia, do you remember your mother? Your real mother?
Just a little bit. She died when I was very young.
What do you remember?
Just images, really. Feeling.
Tell me.
She was very beautiful, kind, but sad. Why are you asking me all this?
He looks away.
I have no memory of my mother. Never knew her.
Luke, tell me, what's troubling you?
Vader is here. Now, on this moon.
How do you know?
Felt his presence. He's come for me. You can feel when I'm near. That's why I have to go. As long as I stay, I'm endangering the group and our mission here. I have to face him.
Leia is distraught, confused.
Why?
Luke moves close and his manner is gentle and very calm.
He's my father.
Your father?
There's more. It won't be easy for you to hear it, but you must. If I don't make it back, you're the only hope for the Alliance.
Leia is very disturbed by this. She moves away as if to deny it.
Luke, don't talk that way. You have a power I don't understand and could never have.
You're wrong, Leia. You have that power too. In time, you'll use it as I have. The Force is strong in my family. My father has it. I have it. And my sister has it.
Leia stares into his eyes. What she sees there frightens her, but she doesn't draw away. She begins to understand.
Yes. It's you, Leia.
I know. Somehow, I've always known.
You know why I have to face him.
No, Luke, run away, far away. If you can feel your presence, then leave this place. I wish I could go with you.
No, you don't. You've always been strong.
But why must you confront him?
Because there is good in him. I felt it. He won't turn me over to the Emperor. I can save him. I can turn him back to the good side. I have to try.
They hold each other close and look at each other, brother and sister. Leia holds back her tears as Luke slowly lets her go and moves away. He disappears on the walkway that leads out of the village. Leia, bathed in moonlight, watches him go as Han comes out of the chief's hut and comes over to her. Leia is crying, her body trembling. He realizes only now that she is crying.
Hey, what's going on?
Leia attempts to stifle her sobs and wipes her eyes.
Nothing. I just want to be alone for a little while.
Nothing? Come on, tell me, what's going on?
She looks up at him, struggling to control herself.
I can't tell you.
Did you tell Luke? Is that who you could tell?
He starts to walk away exasperated, then stops and walks back to her.
I'm sorry.
Hold me.
Han gathers her tightly in his protective embrace. Exterior, forced, Imperial landing platform. An Imperial shuttle floats down from the Death Star and lands gracefully on the huge platform. Now an Imperial walker approaches the platform from the darkness of the forest. The whole outpost, platform, walkers, military, looks particularly offensive in the midst of this verdant beauty. Exterior, Imperial landing platform, lower deck. Darth Vader walks down the ramp of the shuttle onto the platform, into an elevator, and appears on a ramp on a lower level. He walks toward another ramp exit and is met by 2 troopers and a commander with Luke, in binders, at their center. The young Jedi gazes at Vader with complete calm.
This is a rebel that surrendered to us. Although he denies it, I believe there may be more of them, and I request permission to conduct a further search of the area.
The commander extends his hand, revealing Luke's lightsaber.
He was armed only with this.
Vader looks at Luke, turns away, and faces the commander, taking the lightsaber from the commander's hand.
Good work, Commander. Leave us conduct your search and bring his companions to me.
Yes, my lord.
The officer and troops withdraw. Vader and Luke are left standing alone in the oddly tranquil beauty of the place. The sounds of the Force filter in upon them.
The Emperor has been expecting.
I know, Father.
So you have accepted the truth.
I have accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It's the name of your true self. You've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully. That's why you couldn't destroy me. That's why you won't bring me to your Emperor now.
Vader looks down from Luke to the lightsaber in his own black-gloved hand. He seems to ponder Luke's words.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber.
Vader ignites the lightsaber and holds it to examine its humming, brilliant blade.
Your skills are complete. Indeed, you are powerful as the Emperor has foreseen.
They stand for a moment. Then Vader extinguishes the lightsaber.
Come with me.
Obi-Wan once done as you do.
Luke steps closer to Vader, then stops. Vader is still.
You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master.
I will not turn. And you'll be forced to kill me.
If that is your destiny.
Search your feelings, Father. You can't do this. I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
It is too late for me, son. The Emperor will show you the true nature of the Force. He is your master now.
Vader signals to some distant stormtroopers. He and Luke stand staring at one another for a long moment.
My father is truly dead.
Exterior Endor, ridge overlooking shield generator. Han, Leia, Chewbacca, the droids, Wicket, and another Ewok scout, Paploo, hide on a ridge overlooking the massive Imperial shield generator. At the base of the generator is an Imperial landing platform. Leia studies the installation.
The main entrance to the control bunkers on the far side of that landing platform. This isn't going to be easy.
Hey, don't worry. You and me got to know a lot of places more heavily guarded than this.
Wicket and Paploo are chattering away in Ewok language. They speak to 3PO.
What's he saying?
He says there's a secret entrance on the other side of the ridge.
Exterior, space, Rebel fleet. The vast fleet hangs in space near a blue planet. A giant Rebel star cruiser is up at the front, but now the Millennium Falcon roars up to a spot ahead of it, tiny in comparison. Interior, Millennium Falcon, cockpit. Lando is in the pilot seat. His alien co-pilot, Nub, takes some getting used to in the familiar environs of the Falcon cockpit. Lando speaks into his comlink.
Admiral, we're in position. All fighters accounted for.
Proceed with the countdown. All groups assume attack coordinates.
Lando turns to his weird co-pilot.
Don't worry, my friends and I are down there. They'll have that shield down in time, or this will be the shortest offensive of all time.
The co-pilot flips some switches and grunts an alien comment.
All craft, prepare to jump hyperspace on my mark.
All right, stand by.
He pulls the lever and the stars outside begin to streak. Exterior, space, Rebel fleet. We are treated to an awesome sight. First, the Millennium Falcon, then Ackbar Star Cruiser, then, in large segments, the huge fleet roars into hyperspace and disappears. Exterior, Endor, ridge overlooking control bunker. Han, Leia, Chewie, the droids, and their 2 Ewok guides, Wicket and Paploo, have reunited with the Rebel strike squad. The entire group is spread through the thick undergrowth. Below them is the bunker that leads into the generator. 4 Imperial scouts, their speeder bikes parked nearby, keep watch over the bunker entrance. Chewie growls an observation, and Paploo chatters away to Han in Ewok language.
That door, huh? A good idea.
Wicket and Paploo continue their Ewok conversation.
It's only a few guards. This shouldn't be too much trouble.
Well, it only takes one to sound the alarm.
And do it real quiet-like.
3PO explains what is going on to Wicket and Paploo. The Ewoks chatter a moment between themselves. Then Paploo jumps up and scampers into the underbrush. 3PO asks Wicket where Paploo went and is given a short reply.
Oh my, Princess Leia.
Quiet.
I'm afraid our furry companion has gone and done something rather rash.
Oh no.
Exterior, bunker, entrance. Paploo has slipped out of the undergrowth near where the Imperial scouts are lounging. He silently swings his furry ball of body under one of the scouts' speeder bikes and begins flipping switches at random. Suddenly, the bike's engine fires up with a tremendous roar. Paploo grins and continues flipping switches. The scouts leap up in surprise. Exterior, ridge. Han, Leia, and company watch in distress. Chewie barks.
There goes our surprise attack.
Exterior, bunker. The Imperial scouts race towards Paploo just as his speeder zooms into motion. Paploo hangs on by his paws and shoots away into the forest.
Look! Over there! Stop him!
3 of the Imperial scouts jump on their rocket bikes and speed away in pursuit. The 4th watches them go from his post to the door. Exterior, ridge. Han, Leia, and Chewie exchange delighted looks.
Not bad for a little furball. Well, there's only one left. You stay here. We'll take care of this.
Han and the Wookiee nod at each other and slip down toward the bunker. 3PO moves to stand next to Wicket and R2.
I've decided that we shall stay here.
Exterior forest. Paploo sails through the trees, more lucky than in control. It's scary, but he loves it. When the Imperial Scout pulls within sight behind him and begins firing laser bolts, he decides he's had enough. As he rounds a tree out of their sight, Paploo grabs the vine and swings up into the trees. A moment later, the Scouts tear under him in pursuit of the still-flying, unoccupied bike. Exterior bunker. Han sneaks up behind the remaining Imperial Scout, taps him on the shoulder, and lets the Scout chase him behind the bunker into the arms of the awaiting Rebel strike team. Han returns to the front and taps out a pattern on the bunker door's control panel. Everyone stands out of sight, police style, as the door opens. Han and Leia peek inside. No sign of life. The group enters the bunker silently, leaving one lookout behind. Interior, Death Star, Emperor's throne room. The elevator opens. Vader and Luke enter the room alone. They walk across the dark space to stand before the throne, father and son side by side, beneath the gaze of the Emperor. Vader bows to his master.
Welcome, young Skywalker. I've been expecting you.
Luke peers at the hooded figure defiantly. The Emperor then looks down at Luke's binders.
You no longer need those.
The Emperor motions ever so slightly with his finger, and Luke's binders fall away, clattering to the floor. Luke looks down at his own hands, free now to reach out and grab the Emperor's neck. He does nothing.
Guards, leave us.
The red cloak guards turn and disappear behind the elevator.
I'm looking forward to completing your training. In time, you will call me Master.
Gravely mistaken. You won't convert me as you did my father.
The Emperor gets down from his throne and walks up very close to Luke. The Emperor looks into his eyes, and for the first time, Luke can perceive the evil visage within the hood.
Oh no, my young Jedi. You will find that it is you who are mistaken about a great many things.
His lightsaber.
Vader extends a gloved hand toward the Emperor, revealing Luke's lightsaber. The Emperor takes it.
Ah, yes. A Jedi's weapon, much like your father's. By now, you must know your father can never be turned from the dark side. So will it be you?
You're wrong. Soon I'll be dead, and you with me.
Emperor laughs.
Perhaps you refer to the imminent attack of your rebel fleet.
Luke looks up sharply.
Yes, I assure you, we are quite safe from your friends here.
Vader looks at Luke.
Your overconfidence is your weakness.
Your faith in your friends is yours.
It is pointless to resist, my son.
The Emperor turns to face Luke.
Everything that has transpired has done so accordingly to my design. Your friends up there on the sanctuary moon
Luke reacts. The Emperor notes it.
are walking into a trap, as is your rebel fleet. It was I who allowed the Alliance to know the location of the shield generator. It is quite safe from your pitiful little band. An entire legion of my best troops await them.
Luke's look darts from the Emperor to Vader, and finally to the sword in the Emperor's hand.
Oh, I'm afraid the deflector shield will be quite operational when your friends arrive.
Interior, bunker, main control room. Han, Leia, Chewie, and the Rebel strike team storm through a door and enter the main control room, taking all of the personnel prisoner.
All right, up, move, come on, quickly, Chewie.
The Rebel troops herd the generator controllers away from their panels. Leia glances at one of the screens on the control panel.
Han, hurry, the fleet will be here any moment.
Charges, come on.
Outside, 3PO watches nervously in the bushes as several more controllers and stormtroopers run into the bunker, leaving guards at the door.
Oh my, they'll be captured.
Wicket chatters in Ewok language and then takes off full steam into the forest.
Wait, come back. R2, stay with me.
Inside the bunker, Han looks up from setting charges as an Imperial commander enters.
Freeze, you rebel scum!
Han and Leia spin to find dozens of Imperial weapons trained on them and their cohorts. A poised force of Imperial troops surround them. Even more pour into the room, roughly disarming the rebel contingent. Han, Leia, and Chewie exchange looks. They're helpless. Exterior space, Endor, Death Star, Rebel fleet. The Death Star and its sanctuary moon hang distant in space as the Rebel fleet comes out of hyperspace with an awesome roar. The Millennium Falcon and several Rebel fighters are at the front as the Space Armada bears down on its target. Serial Millennium Falcon cockpit. Lando flips switches, checks his screen, and speaks into the radio.
All wings report in.
Red leader standing by.
Red leader standing by.
Green leader standing by.
Lock S-foils in attack positions.
Interior Rebel Star Cruiser bridge. From the bridge of the Rebel headquarters, Brigade Admiral Ackbar watches the fighters massing outside his view screen.
May the Force be with us.
Interior Millennium Falcon cockpit. Lando looks worriedly at his alien co-pilot named Nub, who points to the control panel and talks to Lando.
We've got to be able to get some kind of reading on that shield, up or down. Well, how could they just be jamming us if they don't know we're coming?
Lando shoots a concerned look out at the approaching Death Star as the implications of what he's just said sink in. He hits a switch on his comlink.
Break off the attack. The shield's still up.
I get no reading. Are you sure? Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I forgot that was me. Pull up, all crap. Pull up.
The Falcon turns hard to the left. Out the window, the stars and the Death Star move off right. Exterior space, Death Star shield. The Falcon and the fighters of Red Squad veer off desperately to avoid the unseen wall. Interior Rebel Star Cruiser bridge. Alarms are screaming and lights flashing as the huge ship changes course abruptly. Other ships in the fleet shoot by outside as the Armada tries to halt its forward momentum.
Take evasive action. Green Group, stick close to the holding of Sector MV7.
A Mon Calamari controller turns away from his screen and calls out to Ackbar, quite excited. The Admiral rushes over to the controller.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47.
On the screen can be seen the moon, Death Star, and the massive Imperial fleet. Ackbar moves to the comlink.
It's a trap!
Fighters coming in!
There is much excitement on the bridge as the attack begins. The Millennium Falcon and several squads of Rebel fighters head into an armada of TIE fighters. The sky explodes as a fierce dogfight ensues and around the giant Rebel cruisers.
There's too many of them.
Accelerate to attack speed. Draw their fire away from the cruisers. Copy that, Gold Leader.
The battle continues around the giant cruisers. Interior, Death Star, Emperor's throne room. Through the round window behind the Emperor's throne can be seen the distant flashes of the space battle in progress.
Come, boy. See for yourself.
The Emperor is sitting in his throne with Vader standing at his side. Luke moves to look through a small section of the window.
From here, you will witness the final destruction of the Alliance and the end of your insignificant rebellion.
Luke is in torment. He glances at his lightsaber sitting on the armrest of the throne. The Emperor watches him and smiles, touches the lightsaber.
You want this, don't you? The hate is swelling in you now. Take your Jedi weapon. Use it. I am unarmed. Strike me down with it. Give in to your anger. With each passing moment, you make yourself more my servant.
Vader watches Luke in his agony.
No.
It is unavoidable. It is your destiny. You, like your father, are now mine.
Exterior forest, generator bunker. Han, Leia, Chewie, and the rest of the strike team are led out of the bunker by their captors. The surrounding area, deserted before, is now crowded with two-legged Imperial walkers and hundreds of Imperial troops. The situation looks hopeless.
All right, move it. I said move it. Go on.
From the undergrowth beyond the clearing comes a wild series of beeps and whistles. And
Hello, I say over there. Were you looking for me?
Hello. Bring those two down here.
Let's go.
R2 and 3PO are standing near one of the big trees. As 6 Imperial stormtroopers rush over to take them captive, the 2 droids duck out of sight behind the trees.
Well, they're on their way. R2, you sure this is a good idea?
Freeze, don't move.
We surrender.
The stormtroopers come around the tree and find the 2 droids waiting quietly to be taken. As the Imperial troops move to do that, however, a band of Ewoks drops down from above and overpowers them.
Oh, stand back, R2.
In a nearby tree, an Ewok raises a horn to his lips and sounds the Ewok Attack call. All hell breaks loose as hundreds of Ewoks throw their fuzzy bodies into the fray against the assembled stormtroopers and their awesome 2-legged walkers. Biker scouts dart about blasting Ewoks, only to be crushed by a volley of rocks tossed by Ewoks from the trees above. In the confusion of the battle, Han and Leia break away and dive for the cover of the bunker door as explosions erupt around them. Han goes to the bunker door control panel.
The code's changed. We need R2.
Here's the terminal.
R2, where are you? We need you. At the bunker, right away.
R2 and 3PO are hiding behind a log as the battle rages around them. Suddenly, the stubby little asteroid lets out a series of whistles and shoots off across the battlefield. 3PO, panicked, runs after him.
Going? What do you mean you're going? But going where, R2? No, what? R2, this is no time for heroics. Come back.
Biker scouts race around and over the 2 droids, blasting away at the little Ewoks as the furries scurry for cover. A group of Ewoks have moved a primitive catapult into position. They fire off a large boulder that hits one of the walkers. The walker turns and heads for the catapult, blasting away with both guns. The Ewoks abandon their weapons and flee in all directions. Just as the walker moves in to stop the catapult, Ewoks drop vines restraining 2 huge logs that swing down and smash the walker's head flat. A line of Ewoks hang desperately to a vine that is hooked to a walker's foot. As the walker moves along, the fuzzy creatures are dragged behind. 2 speeder bikes chase Ewoks through the underbrush. As the scouts round a tree, they are knocked off their bikes by a vine tied between 2 trees. Exterior space. The Falcon and other rebel fighters are engaged in a ferocious combat with Imperial TIE fighters on the battle raging around the cruisers of the Rebel Armada. Interior, Millennium Falcon, cockpit. Lando is in radio communication with the pilots of the other rebel squads.
Watch yourself, Wedge. 3 from above.
Red 3, Red 2, pull in!
Got it.
3 of them coming in, 20 degrees.
Cut to the left. I'll take the leader. They're heading for the medical frigate.
Lando steers the Falcon through a complete flip as his crew fires at the ties from the belly's guns. Pressure steady. The co-pilot Neem Nub shatters an observation.
Only the fighters are attacking. I wonder what those Star Destroyers are waiting for.
Exterior space, Imperial fleet. The giant Imperial Star Destroyer waits silently some distance from the battle. The Emperor's huge Super Star Destroyer rests in the middle of the fleet. Interior, Super Star Destroyer bridge. Admiral Piett and 2 fleet commanders watch the battle at the huge window of the Super Star Destroyer bridge.
We're in attack position now, sir.
Hold here.
We're not going to attack?
I have my orders from the Emperor himself. He has something special planned for them. We only need to keep them from escaping.
Interior, Emperor's Tower, throne room. The Emperor, Vader, and a horrified Luke watch the aerial battle fireworks out the window and on the view screens. Another rebel ship explodes against the protective shield.
As you can see, my young apprentice, your friends have failed. Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station. Fire at will, Commander.
Luke, in shock, looks out across the surface of the Death Star to the rebel fleet beyond. Interior, Death Star control room. Controllers pull back on several switches. Commander Georgerod stands over them.
Fire!
Interior, Death Star blast chamber. A button is pressed, which switches on a panel of lights. A hooded Imperial soldier reaches overhead and pulls a lever. A huge beam of light emanates from a long shaft. 2 stormtroopers stand to one side at a control panel. Exterior Death Star. The giant laser dish on the complete half of the Death Star begins to glow. Then a powerful beam shoots out toward the aerial battle. Exterior space air battle. The air is thick with giant ships. In among them, Rebel X-Wings dogfight with Imperial TIE fighters. Now an enormous Rebel cruiser is hit by the Death Star beam and is blown to dust. The Millennium Falcon roars over camera, followed closely by several TIE fighters. Interior, Millennium Falcon, cockpit. The ship is buffeted by the tremendous explosion of the Rebel cruiser. Lando and his co-pilot are stunned by the sight of the Death Star firepower.
That blast came from the Death Star. The thing's operational! Home 1, this is Gold Leader!
Interior, Rebel Star Cruiser bridge. Ackbar stands amid the confusion on the wide bridge and speaks into the comlink.
We saw it. All craft prepare to retreat.
You won't get another chance at this, Admiral.
We have no choice, General Calrissian. Our cruisers can't repel firepower of that magnitude.
Han will have the shield down. We've got to give him more time.
Exterior, forest generator bunker. R2 and 3PO make it to the door as Han and Leia provide cover fire.
We're coming.
Come on.
Oh, R2, hurry.
The little droid moves to the terminal and plugs in his computer arm. A large explosion hits near R2, knocking him head over heels, finally landing on his feet. The stubby astrodroid's head is spinning and smoldering. Suddenly, there's a loud spring, and Han and Leia turn around to see R2 with all his compartment doors open and all of his appendages sticking out. Water and smoke spurt out of the nozzles in his body. Han rushes to the terminal as 3PO rushes to his wounded companion.
Oh my goodness, R2. Why did you have to be so brave?
Well, I suppose I could hotwire this thing.
I'll cover you.
Ewoks in handmade primitive hang gliders drop rocks on the stormtroopers, dive bombing their deadly adversaries. One is hit in the wing with laser fires and crashes. A walker lumbers forward, shooting laser blasts at frantic Ewoks running in all directions. 2 Ewoks are struck down by laser blasts.
No.
One tries to awaken his friend, then realizes that he is dead.
No.
Exterior space, Death Star. The Rebel fleet continues to be picked off from one side by the Death Star's deadly beam, from the other by the rampaging Imperial Star Destroyers. Interior, Millennium Falcon, cockpit. Lando steers the Falcon wildly through an obstacle course of floating giants. He's been yelling into the comlink.
Yes, I said closer. Move as close as you can. Engage those Star Destroyers at point blank range.
At that close range, we won't last long against those Star Destroyers.
We'll last longer than we will against that Death Star, and we might just take a few of them with us.
The Rebel cruisers move very close to the Imperial Star Destroyers and begin to blast away at point-blank range. Tiny fighters race across the giant surfaces against a backdrop of laser fire. The control tower of a Star Destroyer is under attack.
She's gonna blow!
I'm hit!
The damaged Y-wing plummets toward the Star Destroyer and crashes into the control tower, exploding. Tier, Emperor's Tower, throne room. Out of the window and on the view screens, the Rebel fleet is being decimated in blinding explosions of light and debris. But in here, there is no sound of battle. The Emperor turns to Luke.
Your fleet has lost, and your friends on the Endor moon will not survive. There is no escape, my young apprentice. The Alliance will die, as will your friends.
Luke's eyes are full of rage. Vader watches him.
Good. I can feel your anger. I am defenseless. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all the hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
Luke can resist no longer. The lightsaber flies into his hand. He ignites it in an instant and swings it at the Emperor. Vader's lightsaber flashes into view, blocking Luke's blow before it can reach the Emperor. The 2 blades spark at contact. Luke turns to fight his father. Exterior forest. The battle rages on. Stormtroopers fire on Ewoks with sophisticated weapons while their furry little adversaries sneak up behind the Imperial troopers and bash them over the head with large clubs. A walker marches through the undergrowth, blasting Ewoks as it goes. An Ewok warrior gives the signal, and a pile of logs is cut loose. The logs tumble under the walker's feet, causing it to slip and slide until it finally topples over with a great crash. A scout bike races past and is lassoed with a heavy vine. The other end of the vine is tied to a tree, and the bike swings around in ever-tightening circles until it runs out of rope and crashes into the trees with a huge explosion. Chewie swings on a vine to the roof of one of the walkers. 2 Ewoks cling to him. They land with a thud on the top of the lurching machine, then hang on for dear life. One of the Ewoks peeks through the window.
Wow. Look!
Get him off of there! The walker pilot opens the hatch to see what's going on. He is yanked out and tossed overboard before he can scream. The two Ewoks jump into the cockpit and knock the second pilot unconscious. The Ewoks are thrown violently as the mighty machine careens out of control. Outside, Chewie is almost knocked overboard. He sticks his head into the hatch with a series of angry barks. The Ewoks are too busy and frightened to listen to the Wookiee's complaint. Chewie slips inside the walker. Chewbacca's walker moves through the forest, firing laser blasts at unsuspecting stormtroopers and destroying other Imperial walkers. The Ewoks shout and cheer as the giant machine helps turn the tide of the battle.
Wow!
Exterior forest, generator bunker. Han works furiously at the control panel, wire spark as he attempts to hotwire the door. He motions to Leia, who is blasting away some stormtroopers.
I think I got it. I got it.
3 wires spark as the connection is made. With a loud whoosh, a second blast door crashes down in front of the first. Han frowns and turns back to the wires again. Leia exchanges shots with stormtroopers to the bushes, then suddenly cries out in pain, her shoulder hit by a laser blast.
Oh, Princess Leia, are you all right?
Let's see.
It's not bad.
Freeze!
They freeze.
Oh dear.
Don't move.
Leia holds her laser gun ready behind Han, out of view of the 2 stormtroopers moving toward them. Han and Leia's eyes lock. The moment seems suspended in time.
I love you.
Another shared look between them as she smiles up at Han.
I know.
Hands up. Stand up.
Han stands up slowly and turns, revealing the gun in Leia's hand. She disposes of the stormtroopers in a flash. As Han turns back toward Leia, he looks up to see a giant walker approach and stand before him, its deadly weapons aimed right at him.
Stay back.
The hatch on top of the walker opens and Chewie sticks his head out and barks triumphantly.
Chewie? Get down here. She's wounded. No, wait. I got an idea.
Interior Emperor's Tower throne room. Luke and Vader are engaged in a man-to-man duel of lightsabers, even more vicious than the battle on Bespin. But the young Jedi has grown stronger in the interim, and now the advantage shifts to him. Vader is forced back, losing his balance, and is knocked down the stairs. Luke stands at the top of the stairs, ready to attack.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
Luke looks momentarily toward the Emperor, then back to Vader, and realizes he is using the dark side. He steps back, turns off his lightsaber, and relaxes, driving the hate from his being.
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
I will not fight you, Father.
Vader walks back up the stairs to Luke.
You are unwise to lower your defenses.
Vader attacks, forcing Luke on the defensive. The young Jedi leaps in an amazing reverse flip up to the seat of the catwalk overhead. Vader stands below him.
Your thoughts betray you, Father. I feel the good in you, the conflict.
There is no conflict.
You couldn't bring yourself to kill me before. I don't believe you'll destroy me now.
You underestimate the power of the dark side. If you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny.
Vader throws the laser sword and it cuts through the supports holding the catwalk, then returns to Vader's hand. Luke tumbles to the ground in a shower of sparks and rolls out of sight onto the Emperor's platform. Vader moves to find him.
Good. Good.
Exterior space, air battle. The 2 armadas, like their seabound ancestors, blast away at each other in individual point-blank confrontations. The Star Destroyer explodes. The Rebel victor limps away, its back half alive with a series of minor explosions. The Rebel cruiser manages to move in next to a second Star Destroyer before it explodes completely, taking the Imperial Star Destroyer with it. The Falcon and several fighters attack one of the larger Imperial ships.
Watch out! Squad at .06.
I'm on it, Gold Leader.
Good shot, Red 2. Now, come on. Come on, old buddy, don't let me down.
Interior bunker control room. Controllers watch the main view screen on which a vague figure of an Imperial walker pilot can be seen. There is a great deal of static and interference.
It's over, Commander. The rebels have been routed. They were fleeing into the woods. We need reinforcements to continue the pursuit.
The controllers cheer. Control room commanders send... It's a lie.
Send 3 squads to help. Open the back door. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Exterior forest generator bunker. As the door to the bunker opens and the Imperial troops rush out, they're surprised to find themselves surrounded by rebels. Their weapons point at them. Ewoks holding bows and arrows appear on the roof of the bunker. The Imperial troops throw down their guns as Han and Chewie rush inside the bunker with explosive charges. Interior bunker control room. Han, Chewie, and several troops rush into the control room and plant explosive charges on the control panels and rush out.
Throw me another charge.
Interior Emperor's Tower throne room. Vader stalks the low-ceiling area on the dark level below the throne, searching for Luke in the semi-darkness, his lightsaber held ready.
You cannot hide forever.
I will not fight you.
Give yourself to dark side. It is the only way you can save your friends. Yes, your thoughts betray you. Your feelings for them are strong, especially for...
Vader stops and senses something. Luke shuts his eyes tightly in anguish.
Sister. So, you have a twin sister. Your feelings have now betrayed her too. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. Now his failure is complete. If you will not turn to the dark side, perhaps she will.
Never!
Luke ignites his lightsaber and screams in anger, rushing at his father with a frenzy we have not seen before. Sparks fly as Luke and Vader fight in the cramped area. Luke's hatred forces Vader to retreat out of a low area and across a bridge overlooking a vast elevator shaft. Each stroke of Luke's sword drives his father further toward defeat. The Dark Lord is knocked to his knees, and as he raises his sword to block another onslaught, Luke slashes Vader's right hand off the wrist, causing metal and electronic parts to fly from a mechanical stump. Vader's sword clatters uselessly away, over the edge of the platform and into the bottomless shaft below. Luke moves over Vader and holds the blade of his sword to the Dark Lord's throat. The Emperor watches with uncontrollable, pleased agitation.
Good. Your hate has made you powerful. Now fulfill your destiny and take your father's place at my side.
Luke looks at his father's mechanical hand, then to his own mechanical black-gloved hand, and realizes how much he is becoming like his father. He makes a decision for which he has spent a lifetime in preparation. Luke steps back and hurls his lightsaber away.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
The Emperor's glee turns to rage.
So be it, Jedi.
Exterior forest generator bunker. Han and several of the fighters run out of the bunker and race across the clearing.
Move, move!
A shockwave knocks them flat as the bunker explodes, followed by a spectacular display as the huge shield generator dish explodes along with the bunker. Interior, Rebel Star Cruiser, bridge, Ackbar, sitting in his controls chair, speaks into the radio.
The shield is down. Commence attack on the Death Star's main reactor.
We're on our way. Red group, gold group, all fighters, follow me. I told you they'd do it!
The Falcon, followed by several smaller rebel fighters, heads toward the unfinished superstructure of the Death Star. Interior, Emperor's Tower, throne room. Luke stands still as the Emperor reaches the bottom of the stairs. The Emperor's laughter has turned to anger. He raises his arm towards Luke.
If you will not be turned, you will be destroyed.
Blinding bolts of energy, evil lightning, shoot from the Emperor's hands at Luke. Even in his surprise, the young Jedi tries to use the Force to deflect them. At first, he is half successful, but after a moment, the bolts of energy are coming with such speed and power, the young Jedi shrinks before them, with his knees buckling. The wounded Vader struggles to his feet and moves to stand at his master's side.
Young fool, only now at the end you will understand.
Luke is almost unconscious beneath the continuing assault of the Emperor's lightning. He clutches a canister to keep from falling into the bottomless shaft as the bolts tear through him.
Your feeble skills are no match for the power of the dark side. You have paid the price for your lack of vision.
Luke writhes on the floor in unbearable pain. reaching weakly up toward where Vader stands watching.
Father, please, help me.
Again, Vader stands watching Luke. He looks at his master, the Emperor, then back to Luke on the floor.
Now, young Skywalker, you will die.
Although it would not have seemed possible, the outpouring of bolts from the Emperor's fingers actually increases in intensity, the sound screaming through the room. Luke's body writhes in pain. Vader grabs the Emperor from behind, fighting for control of the robed figure despite the Dark Lord's weakened body and gravely weakened arm. The Emperor struggles in his embrace, his bolt-shooting hands now lifted high away from Luke. Now the white lightning arcs back to strike at Vader. He stumbles with his load as the sparks rain off his helmet and flow down over his black cape. He holds his evil master high over his head and walks to the edge of the abyss at the central core of the throne room. With one final burst of his once awesome strength, Darth Vader hurls the Emperor's body into the bottomless shaft. The Emperor's body spins helplessly into the void, arcing as it falls into the abyss. Finally, when the body is far down the shaft, it explodes, creating a rush of air through the room. Vader's cape is whipped by the wind, and he staggers and collapses toward the bottomless hole. Luke crawls to his father's side and pulls him away from the edge of the abyss to safety. Both the young Jedi and the giant warrior are too weak to move. Exterior, interior, space battle, fighter, and Death Star. Rebel fighters follow the Falcon across the surface of the Death Star to the unfinished portion, where they dive into the superstructure of the giant battle station, followed by many TIE fighters.
I'm going in! Here goes nothing.
3 X-Wings lead the chase through the ever-narrowing shaft, followed by the Falcon and 4 other fighters, plus TIE fighters who continually fire at the rebels. Lights reflect off the pilots' faces as they race through the dark shaft.
Now look under the strongest power source. It should be the power generator. Form up, stay alert. We could run out of space real fast.
The fighters in the Falcon race through the tunnel, still pursued by the TIE fighters. One of the X-Wings is hit from behind and explodes.
Split up and head back. Take to the surface. See if you can get a few of those TIE fighters to follow you.
Copy, Gold Leader.
The rebel ships peel off, pursued by 3 of the TIEs, while Lando and Wedge continue through the main tunnel. It narrows and the Falcon scrapes the side dangerously. 2 other TIE fighters continue to blast away at them.
That was way too close.
Nub agrees. The battle between the Rebel and Imperial fleet rages on. Several cruisers fire at the giant Superstar Destroyer. Interior Rebel Star Cruiser Bridge.
You've got to give those fighters more time. Concentrate all fire on that Superstar Destroyer.
X-Wing pilots head across the surface of the huge battleship. Interior Vader's Star Destroyer Bridge. Admiral, Piett, and a commander stand at the window, looking out to the battle. They look concerned.
Sir, we've lost our bridge deflector shield.
Intensify the forward batteries. I don't want anything to get through.
The commander is looking out of the window where a damaged rebel fighter is out of control and heading directly toward the bridge.
Intensify forward firepower.
It's too late!
The rebel pilot screams as the ship hits the Star Destroyer, causing a huge explosion. The giant battleship loses control, crashes into the Death Star, and explodes. Interior Rebel Star Cruiser Bridge. There is excitement on the bridge as the battle rages on all sides. They cheer as the giant Star Destroyer blows up. Interior Death Star main docking bay. Chaos. For the first time, the Death Star is rocked by explosions as the rebel fleet, no longer backed against a wall, zooms over, unloading a heavy barrage. Imperial troops run in all directions, confused and desperate to escape. In the midst of this uproar, Luke is trying to carry the enormous dead weight of his father's weakening body toward an Imperial shuttle. Finally, Luke collapses from the strain. The explosions grow louder as Vader draws him close.
Luke, help me take this mask off.
He'll die.
Nothing can stop that now. Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes.
Slowly, hesitantly, Luke removes the mask from his father's face. There beneath the scars is an elderly man. His eyes do not focus, but the dying man smiles at the sight before him.
Go, my son. Leave me.
No. You're coming with me. I can't leave you here. I've got to save you.
You already have, Luke. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right.
Father, I won't leave you.
Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, Luke's father, dies. A huge explosion rocks the docking bay. Slowly, Luke rises and, half carrying, half dragging the body of his father, stumbles toward a shuttle. Exterior Death Star. The Millennium Falcon leads a swerving bomb run through the immense superstructure of the half-built Death Star. The Rebel Star cruisers outside continually bombard the huge station, and each direct hit is answered by resonating chain reaction explosions within the station itself. Interior Millennium Falcon, cockpit, and gun ports. Lando's crew fires away at the pursuing TIE fighters as the dashing Baron of Bespin and his alien co-pilot home in on the main reactor shaft. It is awesome. A lone X-Wing is just in front of the Falcon.
There it is! All right, Wedge, go for the power regulator on the North Tower. Copy, Gold Leader. I'm ready. I'm already on my way out.
X-Wing heads for the top of the huge reactor and fires several proton torpedoes at the power regulator, causing a series of small explosions. The Falcon heads for the main reactor, and when it is dangerously close, Lando fires the missiles, which shoot out of the Falcon with a powerful roar and hit directly at the center of the main reactor. He maneuvers the Falcon out of the winding superstructure just ahead of the continuing chain of explosions. Interior Rebel Star Cruiser bridge. Ackbar and other Mon Calamari lean on the railing of the bridge, watching the large screen showing the Death Star in the main briefing room.
Move the fleet away from the Death Star.
Exterior Death Star. An Imperial shuttle with Luke alone in the cockpit rockets out of the main docking bay as the entire section of the Death Star is blown away. Finally, just as it looks like the Falcon will not make it, Lando expertly pilots the craft out of the exploding superstructure and whizzes toward the sanctuary moon, only a moment before the Death Star supernovas into oblivion. Interior Millennium Falcon cockpit. Lando and Nib laugh and cheer in relief. Exterior Endor Forest. Han and Leia, Chewie, the droids, and rebel troops, and the Ewoks all look to the sky as the Death Star reveals itself in a final flash of self-destruction. They all cheer.
They did it.
Han looks down from the sky to Leia, a look of concern on his face. Leia continues to look at the sky as though listening for a silent voice.
Sure, Luke wasn't on that thing when it blew.
He wasn't. I can feel it.
You love him, don't you?
Leia smiles,
Yeah.
puzzled.
Yeah.
All right, I understand. Fine. When he comes back, I won't get in the way.
She realizes his misunderstanding.
No, it's not like that at all. He's my brother.
I have questions.
Han is stunned by this news. She smiles and they embrace. Exterior Endor Forest, night. Luke sets a torch to the log stacked under a funeral pyre where his father's body lies, again dressed in black mask and helmet. He stands, watching sadly as the flames leap higher to consume Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. In the sky above, fireworks explode and rebel fighters zoom above the forest. Exterior Ewok Village Square at night. A huge bonfire is the centerpiece of a wild celebration. Rebels and Ewoks rejoice in the warm glow of firelight, drums beating, singing, dancing, and laughing in the computer language of victory and liberation. Lando runs in and is enthusiastically hugged by Han and Chewie. Then, finally, Luke arrives and the friends rush to greet and embrace him. They stand close, this hearty group, talking comfort in each other's touch, together to the end. Rebels and Ewoks join together in dancing and celebration. The original group of adventurers watch from the sidelines. Only Luke seems distracted, alone in their midst, his thoughts elsewhere. He looks off to the side and sees three shimmering, smiling figures at the edge of the shadows. Ben Kenobi, Yoda, and Anakin Skywalker. Fade out. End credits over Starfield. The end.
Yay!
Hooray!
That's not Hayden
No.
Christensen.
I've been waiting to celebrate on Endor my entire life.
Everybody now, yeah, no.
All right, guys, this was This is great. All right, if you are watching this video on YouTube, thanks for joining us for all three of the Star Wars original trilogy. Come back for our next screenplay readings.